The proposal. It's wedding day in Silvertown in the proud kingdom of Katolis. It's a medium-sized mining community best known for, you guessed right, silver extraction. The first time Rayla and Callum visited the town was 8 years ago, give or take, during their first Pentachi tour after 2 years traveling around Zadia. Rayla remembers turning to Callum that first time, one eyebrow raised in amusement at the oh-so-original name. Like Zadian town names are better, he had said, rolling his eyes. She had laughed good-naturedly and followed him past the town gates. Back then, they had come as ambassadors in official royal business. Well, Rayla was the ambassador. Callum was her guide and also the representative of the Kingdom of Katolis as the crown prince in functions. Ezran's idea until an heir was born. Are you sure it's a good idea? I don't have royal blood and, to be honest, I don't have the slightest interest in the throne. It's just a provisional notion. Queen Anya made a very good point about the dangers that a kingdom with no heir can go through and that a crown prince is better seen within royal affairs. Besides, you are my brother, it's your right. Many will disagree, Ez. Let them, I'm King. Callum smiles at his little brother. If you are sure and if you promise me it won't be forever, then I'll accept. Great. Thank you, Callum. I promise it will all be fine and whoever doesn't like it can suck it. Ezran. You might be king, but that gives you no right to not control your language. I'll have a few words with Soren, he needs to watch what he says when he's in your. Actually, I heard that from Claudia. 9 years later, he was still crown prince, and Ezran showed no signs of changing that anytime soon. It's just that I still don't find my jelly tart. You would think that as king it would be easy, but it's not, he told Callum last time they were together, a few months ago. You'll find them, Ez, just give it time. Easy for you to say. You don't have the council reminding you about the need of an heir every 5 seconds of the day. It's difficult to meet someone in those circumstances. Less someone they will approve of. Not everyone can be like you and Rayla, you know. He did feel bad about his brother, but he had to give him that. Him and Rayla. Best last 10 years of his life. They had kissed the night peace was officially proclaimed between the Pentachi and Zadia and they just never looked back. Callum. Are you with me? We are almost to the gates of the town. He snaps out of his thoughts and looks at Rayla, walking beside him. She was still taller than him, although by the bare minimum of 1 inch, 3 if you considered the horns. He didn't. She did. Their never-ending argument. Sorry, was thinking, he says. I just realized how much time has passed for Hartran to be married. Wasn't he a tiny boy just yesterday? Rayla laughs. Maybe 6 years ago. He is 18 now. And stop talking like an old man. You aren't much older, she shoves him lightly. Yeah, I know. It's just, time flies. Rayla takes his hand, making him stop. Are you sure you are okay? This is way too much melancholy even for you, she tries to joke. Callum looks her in the eye. I am fine, truly. He interlocks their fingers and starts walking again. Come on, our friends are waiting. .. During their many trips around the lands, Callum and Rayla had made many friends, and some enemies, in the different towns and cities. Silvertown was no exception to that, but it was also special to them. When they first arrived, the townspeople were skeptical about the step crown prince and the elf. They deemed them too young and inexperienced for the jobs they were sent to do. Thought their responsibilities would crush them eventually. It all changed when the accident happened. Working in a mine has its risks. Everybody knows that. That day, both Prince and Elf were inspecting the silver extracted during the morning shift, when a rookie miner lit the fuse of the explosives too soon. The miners inside, still placing more charges to open a new silver vein, didn't have time to react. The first explosion triggered others, finishing in the biggest one that rattled the mountain, causing a rock slide that would block the entrance, trapping the miners. The only thing everyone present could do was take cover. Everyone except for a prince and an elf, both reacting as soon as they understood what was going on. Using his strongest spells, Callum managed to keep the mine open long enough for Rayla to go in. After that he observed, calculated, timed it, and got ready. No one dared to get in his way. They had heard the rumors about him being a mage in sync with the elemental magic. Not just rumors, it seems. When he finally moved, shouting a spell, all the rocks got out of the way. A moment later, people started running out of the mine, Rayla closing the group carrying a couple injured. "It's everyone," she shouts. Callum lets go of the spell, rocks falling down again. Rayla helps him to his feet and hugs him. "Give me a couple hours to rest and I'll start helping with the wounded." "No need, they are well enough for the town to take over. Just rest," she assures him. After that, the town wasn't as cold anymore. Looking at them as local heroes, knowing that without them, the accident would have turned into a terrible tragedy. So, yes. Silvertown was special. So when they got the wedding invitation there was no way they weren't going. More so with Rayla so excited. They had seen hundreds of amazing and wonderful things during their long journeys. They had experienced more than most, but for some reason they had never seen a wedding. Okay, so technically Callum had, when his mom remarried, but he didn't remember much. He was just a kid. "I wonder if there are similarities between your weddings and elven weddings," she says. "The spells, the bonding part of the ceremony, the charm exchange, you know, the basic stuff." "Sorry to burst your bubble, Ray, but we don't do spells." Callum raises his free hand in greeting to the guards stationed by the gate as they enter the town. Rayla does the same. The guards wave back, happy to see them. "Point taken, no magic." "So, what can you tell me?" "Also the basic stuff," he answers. "There's the walking down the aisle for the bride, the vows, the ring exchange." Guess there is at least one similarity. "You do charms, we do rings." "Our charms are enchanted," she says, matter-of-factly. "Of course they are," he says with a chuckle. They keep on walking to the inn, greeting more people and watching everyone working to get everything ready for the ceremony the next day. "It looks like a festival," notices Rayla, in awe. "For us is a more intimate ceremony. Just the couple, family if there's any, and the couple's closest friends as witnesses. The village elder officiates. I was present for Ranan's, did I ever tell you? I was 10 at the time. He let me be the charm bearer." She smiles, remembering the day. Callum files that information for later usage. This is the kind of town where everyone knows everyone since the moment they come into this world. In a way, it's one big family, so of course they want to celebrate this union as it deserves to be celebrated. You'll see everyone sporting their best looks and behavior, at least until the after party begins. Soren told me it's an experience. Wait, go back. What do you mean with best looks? Before Callum could answer that, a young man calls them while running to their encounter. "Callum. Rayla. You made it." Rayla lets go of Callum's hand to hug the new arrival. Callum shakes his hand. "We wouldn't have missed it for the world, Hartran," says Rayla. "We are very happy about you and Jody." "Thank you, we are very happy as well." He turns to Callum. "By the way, man, before I forget. That favor you asked is waiting at your hotel room. Jody guessed your sizes, but if anything feels weird come tell me so it can be fixed. We have time." "Thanks, Hart, just let me know how much I owe you for both attires." "Nonsense, Callum. Just give me a drawing and we'll call it even." They shake on it. "Hey. Groom. Your dad's looking for you." Someone calls. "Shoot. Coming. Sorry, let me or Jody know if you need anything." "Yes. Gotta go." He runs. "Attires for tomorrow?" asks Rayla with a tone that Callum knew very well. He turns to look at her. "It'll be easier to show you." He takes her hand again. "Come on, the inn waits." ////. Rayla was not amused. She crosses her arms and squints her eyes at the gown in front of her. A human design that, according to Callum, she would need to wear tomorrow. "At least try it on. For me," pleads Callum. "It's human tradition to dress up for events like this. It shows respect to the ones being celebrated. More like an opportunity to show off, but who cares?" She snatches the gown from its perch. "And no need to plea, I'm not a child." She makes her way to the bathroom. "You know, I'll never understand this female human fashion. Corsets that choke you, shoes that make you trip, heavy skirts that hinder your movements. How have your women survived? Adaptation, says Callum. Rayla sends him another unamused look before closing the bathroom door. Callum smiles and rolls his eyes. His girlfriend could be stubborn, but he wouldn't change anything about her. He loved Rayla exactly as she was. He walks to where his own suit was hanging and starts changing. "Why can't we wear something of our own?" calls Rayla, loudly, from the other side of the door. "The ambassador suit Ezran gave me is nice and for formal events like this. Plus, I recall you saying I look hot in it." Her voice took a teasing tone at the end. Callum blushes a little. He did remember saying that. Although it was after the ball, inside their quarters, in private, while they... He shakes his head furiously. "Not the time. It's too formal," he answers. "We both would have being overdressed." He hears the bathroom door open. He turns to see Rayla's floating head staring at him. "You mean to tell me there are levels?" He finishes buttoning up his shirt. "Yes, there are." He smiles that smile that irritates her. "Humans," she says, rolling her eyes, and disappears again. Callum laughs and explains further. "We would have outshined the bride and groom. That would have made us look bad. That's why I hawked Hartran asking for this favor. It's dumb." "Again, it's tradition," he fights back. He steps in front of the full-body mirror. Well, he looks good. Jody had a good eye. Suit fit him like a glove. What didn't fit was his hair. It was longer than he usually wore it and fell up to his shoulders. At least the bangs didn't cover his eyes. He needed to find a barber soon. No time lately with so many official engagements and such. Anyways, a low ponytail would have to do for now. It kept his hair out of his face. He makes some final adjustments and turns to face the bathroom door. "How do I look?" "Handsome." Rayla's head reappears. "You look like a dumb human who needs a haircut." She closes the door again. Callum chuckles, shaking his head. "So, you ready?" No answer. "Come on, Ray. It can't be that bad. I've seen ceremonial elven gowns and they are not much different from human fashion." "Because you copied us," she calls. "But it's different enough." I feel weird still. The door opens and she steps out, making Callum's jaw hit the floor. Wow, it's the only coherent thing he can think. "Be honest, I look ridiculous, don't I?" she says, a little flustered, not looking at him, and trying to cover as much as she can with her arms. She only looks up when she feels Callum's hand on her cheek. She didn't realize he had come closer. I wouldn't say that. He kisses her softly, feeling how she relaxes. "You look beautiful." "You are just saying that." "No, I'm not," he says. "In fact, now I think it was a waste of time asking Hartran for this favor. You are going to outshine the bride either way." Rayla smirks at him. "Where did you learn that?" "Learn what?" "Smooth magic." They both laugh and kiss once more. Rayla thinks that maybe, just maybe, this human traditions aren't so bad after all. ///. The wedding the next day was beautiful. That's what Callum will tell to anyone who asks. It was the safest option given that he was too distracted looking at his girlfriend to pay attention to anything else. So, he was madly in love, sue him. "It was lovely, I liked it," says Rayla, walking on Callum's arm away from the ceremony. Some of the townspeople were busy rearranging everything for the party that was about to start. It had a special kind of magic, don't you think? Like not magic, but you get it, right? "Right," he answers in autopilot. Goofy smile on his face combined with the cheesiest heart eyes. Rayla catches on to that, of course, and an idea comes to her. "So, now that the ceremony is over, no one would be mad if I changed for the party, right?" "Right. I mean, we wouldn't want something to happen to the gown, right?" "Right." "Perfect." She kisses his cheek and untangles herself from him. "Be right back," and she runs for it. "Be right back." What? He watches her go, events catching up to him. Oh well, it wouldn't hurt anyone. He looks around, and frowns. Other men in the town had stopped doing what they were doing to also watch Rayla go. Not like he was possessive. And not like Rayla needed his protection. And not like she would even think of going away with someone else, but Yeah. Just marry her already, boy, chuckles a voice to his left. Yes, wait, what? He turns and gets wide-eye. Elder Varric, what a surprise. How are you, sir? Fine, fine. Still kicking, he says, moving his hand back and forth, resting it importance. But back to what I said, marry that girl already. Who? Rayla. No, the Queen of Duran. Callum makes a confused face. The elder slaps him on the back of his head. Ouch. What was that for? To wake your brain, boy. Of course I meant the Lady Rayla. I swear, sometimes I don't know what kind of prince you are. You have been together for, what? A decade. Any other prince would be happily married and a father by now. Don't you think it's time, boy? I guess. You guess. It's complicated. Complicated, he says. The elder puts a hand on the prince's shoulder. Let me ask you, Callum, from man to man, do you love her? Yes, he answers honestly, no hesitation. Good. Does she love you? Yes, he says again. No second thoughts, no doubts. Then I don't see where it's complicated. He pats his shoulder a couple times and leaves him with that thought. Backslash backslash backslash. The after party was in full bloom. People dancing around the fire or at one of the many games, or just sitting at the tables, drinking and laughing. Kids running around past their bedtimes. Joy everywhere. And Callum. Well, he was sitting in a comfortable corner, sketchbook on his lap, committing all that into memory and into paper. Right now, as many times before, he was drawing Rayla. He couldn't help it. It was just his thing and no one bothered him. They all respected his space, just approaching to offer him a drink or two and then quickly moving along. He felt relaxed, happy. It gave him the space to think. More specific, it gave him time to think about Elder Varric's words. From Varric's point of view, it wasn't complicated. The common folk married for love, but he wasn't common folk. He was a member of the royal family. He was a crown prince, thank you, with responsibilities beyond the family. He had responsibilities with the kingdom and beyond the kingdom. He was on the road a lot. Moving from town to town. Whoever married him, Rayla, would also marry that. He just couldn't ask her to give up her freedom for, wait a minute. He stops his train of thought. He wanted to kick himself so hard his younger self would feel the pain. He was such an idiot. He had stayed with the same reasoning for years, not realizing that Rayla already shared all that baggage with him. So his reason for not asking these last 5 years, that's how long he thought it complicated, were now void. Only thing left now was talking to Ez. He was the king after all, as prince he needed his permission. He knew he had it. He knew Ez would approve. Ez, now that he thinks about it, wouldn't it have been logical after so much time to just marry him, Callum, for political reasons? He knew Ez would never, but it was weird the topic was never approached. Maybe that would have given him that little push to ask Rayla to marry him long ago. Oh well, water under the bridge. He goes back to his drawing. A weight he didn't know he carried now off his shoulders. It reflected in the big pleased smile on his face. Now he just needed to think how to ask her. He stops again. Stars, he needed to ask her. Backslash backslash backslash. Glory to Catullus. Finally, says King Ezran, soon to be 21, jumping from his chair to hug his brother. Bate opens one eye from his cushion to the right of the throne, croaks, and goes back to sleep. Ezran lets go of his brother. Bate also approves, just so you know, he was just tired of waiting. He smiles wide and goes for another hug. I'm so happy for you guys, and yes, you have my permission as king, not like you needed it. Thank you, Ez, says Callum, hugging back. He was relieved. He knew Ez would approve, but somewhere deep inside, he wondered. As he had previously rationalized. Ez was king. He had the power to marry him off to anyone he thought was a good fit, political or otherwise. So curious, he asked. Oh, that. I've known you and Rayla were meant to be since I was 10. I wasn't going to tie you down with someone you would never grow to love. And what about the council? They didn't put pressure on you? Ezran laughs. It was short and loud. It wakes up Bait. He croaks grumpily. Sorry, pal. But back to your question, Callum, of course they did. Didn't they, Bait? They were so annoying. Like flies going around my head all day. Ever since you turned 18, the suitable marriage age. You have no idea how many suitable maidens for a prince we have in Catullus alone. Wait, go back, since I turned 18. 8 years, Ez. You had my back on that for 8 years. I never knew. It was a pain for a while, yes, he smiles. But then Claudia had the most wonderful idea. Why do I feel I don't want to know? Relax, it's not that bad. He says we just started the rumor that you and Rayla were already married under Zadia law. That you did it in secret because at the time the human-elf marriages were still not seen with good eyes by many. When was that we started that, Bait, a croak? Right. During the 5th year peace anniversary celebration. You did what? It's not a big deal, believe me. You don't spend enough time in the castle, in any castle really, for the rumor to affect you too. And it helped. The proposal rates went down dramatically, and the ones who still insisted were easy to manage. Now, if I just could pull something similar for myself to get the council off my back. One thing is marrying a prince, one very different to marry a king. Ez, I promise we will go back to that last part later, but for now, what if any of us had heard that rumor, huh? Then what? Then we would have dealt with it accordingly, and maybe you would be celebrating your, I don't know, 4th anniversary. And maybe I would already be Uncle Ez. Ez, you, what? Never mind. Callum takes a deep breath. I'll pretend that part of the conversation never happened. Like, ever. Ezran does his best not to laugh. So now, back to business. I need ideas how to propose and also help commissioning a ring. You think Soren will be able to help with that? Forget that, brother. No prince of Catullus will commission a ring when there is a really good one available. What do you mean? Ezran picks up Bait and signals Callum to follow him. You'll see. You're going to love this. .. Ezran was right. He loves it. He might have cried a little when Ezran explained what it was. Callum looks up from the ring to his little brother, standing next to his late father's portrait. He looked just like him, minus the long hair, beard, and Ezran's ever-present jelly-covered fingers. Ez was a good king, their father would be proud. Ez, he says, curling his fingers around the ring. Thank you. No need. It belongs to you. Mom would have wanted you to give it to her. You think she would have approved of Rayla? Yes. I think both our parents would have. They smile at each other. Okay, enough of this. Time to go ask our favorite elf to marry you. I will, don't worry. He moves to put the ring in his pocket and feels something already there. A piece of charcoal. He smiles, an idea coming to him. And now I know exactly how to do it. .. While Callum and Ezran had what the older one had dubbed brother talk, Rayla entertained herself going to the training grounds. She looked around and smirked, finding her target sitting on a bench in front of a group of seasoned yet still young guards. It was the new group who would try and pass the test to be on the crown guard, the highest honor. Soren feels her eyes on him and looks from the group to her. He takes his cane and gets up, making signs for her to get closer. When she reaches his side, he calls the group to a stop. Everyone, rest, they do. Go drink some water. We have a special test today in the form of Lady Rayla. She will be testing you also. Believe me, you want to recover as much strength and stamina as you can. All the soldiers do as instructed, leaving the two friends alone. Cause after so many years, that's what they had grown into. Friends. Same bet as always, pretty boy, asks Rayla. If you win, 1 bottle of the finest Moonbury cider on this side of the trench, answers Soren. And if I win, 1 round of the finest Catullus cider for me and my people in the town's tavern. Double for me and the one who kicks your ass. They shake on it. Prepare the bottle, she mocks. The human able to beat me is yet to be born. She glances at the cane. How is that going, by the way? Not bad, if I'm honest. Claudia's spell was good. 10 years it has lasted, but less potent as time passes. I don't want her using the same magic on me again. More for her than me. That first time took a really big bite to her life force. We, and by we I mean her, are looking for a different solution. No luck so far, but we still have time. I'm not sure if I should call you wise, brave, or foolish. Many share the sentiment, laughs Soren. But just you wait. After I'm better I'll train day and night and you will realize that the human meant to defeat you was in front of you all along. That's a relief, says Rayla, taking up a couple training swords. That means that your people today won't win. Soren smacks his forehead. When would he learn to just shut up? Okay, people, calls Rayla to the returning guards. Who is ready to bite the dust? // 2 hours later, Rayla is happily walking down the castle corridors, Moonbury juice cider bottle in hand. Back in the training grounds, Soren is lecturing the guards while they all try to get on their feet unsuccessfully. She now wonders where Callum would be. Was he still talking with Ezran? Would she be interrupting something important if she went looking for them? Only way to know was to go check. She first checks the throne room. Empty. Her and Callum's quarters. Nothing. Ezran's studio. She knocks, a voice tells her to come in. Jackpot. She enters. Hey, as he was alone, working on some documents it seems. I see you are alone. Let me guess, you are looking for Callum. She nods. He did say he had something to talk with you in private, so I guessed that if I found you I would also find him. And you would have, around 1 hour ago. What we needed to discuss wasn't a lengthy topic. He left saying he wanted some good views and that the weather outside was perfect for what he wanted. Landscaping then, she says. That should have been obvious. It's Callum after all. Yeah, it's his thing, agrees Ez. Need help finding him? No need, she says. There's only one place he could have some good views and all the natural light needed to draw. Thanks, as Rayla leaves. Ezran watches her go and then returns to his desk. He better finish writing the official engagement announcement he would be presenting to the council first thing in the morning. What do you think, Bate? The council will cause trouble. A grumpy croak. You are right, who cares? Though they will be mad when they realize they weren't married all this time. Another croak. He turns bluish. Yeah, their fault. It's on them for believing rumors. But deep down he knew it. The next day would be a long one for everyone. / Rayla finds him on their favorite spot on the roof. 10 years ago, they had their first kiss there. It was their special place. Rayla had no idea it would become even more so. She loved watching him draw or paint. Be it that he knew she was there or that he didn't, like now. Those were the moments she could really watch him shine. Then or when he practiced magic. She also loved to watch him then. She loved all about it. His posture, his hands moving quickly but carefully over the paper, his concentrated expression, his eyes flying between whatever he was drawing back to the paper like he wasn't doing at the moment. Now, that was weird. If he were really landscaping he would be looking up and down more frequently. Instead he was fully concentrated in the drawing. Maybe he had already finished and was correcting some lines. No, he would still need to check to see the new line was in the correct place. Then, it was something else. Now, she could play this in 3 different ways. 1. Walk to him and ask him to show her. 2. Walk to him and snatch the sketchbook, or 3. Walk silently behind him and peek over his shoulder, most likely scaring him, to see. The sensible option was number 1 of course, but there was no fun in that. Option 2 was risky cause the charcoal could make a smear if it was close to the paper when she snatched it away, so option 3 it is. She puts the bottle of cider on the floor and moves silently to locate herself behind the prince and starts creeping closer, slowly. What she didn't know was that Callum knew she was there and he had prepared for either scenario. The prince makes sure the drawing is in full view if looked over his shoulder. Rayla gets close enough, stands over him not blocking the light, looks down, and gasps. She takes a few steps back. That drawing. It wasn't a landscape. It was of her and Callum. He had drawn himself on one knee in front of her, taking one of her hands in his, and holding a ring in the other. He had drawn her looking down with an surprised expression on her face, covering her mouth with one hand, like she was doing now. Rayla, he calls. She looks at him, now inches from her. She sees him smile, take one of her hands in one of his, go down on one knee, and take a ring, the ring, out of his pocket. He looks up and Rayla can only see the purest love in his eyes. Love for her. Rayla, he repeats. I. The loudest yes coming from Rayla, and her tackling him to the ground interrupts the speech he had prepared. Not like he cares when his arms and lips are full of her. /////. It's my mom's first engagement ring, he explains later when Rayla asks when he had time to get it. The one my birth father gave to her. Ezran found it with Dad's old things long ago and kept it for me, for when I finally decided to ask you. It's beautiful, she says, kissing her fiancé. You think she would approve? Would your dads? About my birth dad, I honestly don't know. But King Harrow and my mom would. Besides, Mom always told me to do what makes me happy. Asking you to marry me makes me happy. You make me happy. Sorry it took so long. Don't worry about that, she says. So, is this what you needed to talk with Ez? Callum nods. He is king, it's customary for him to approve first. But most important, he is my brother, who would have sent his animal friends to kill me if I didn't tell him about it first. Rayla laughs. So now what, future husband? Do we need to announce it or something? That's Ez's job, but we will need to be present during the announcement to the council tomorrow. Rayla makes a face. I know, but hey. We have survived worse situations together, right? Rayla nods and cuddles to him, Callum putting his arms around her. He was right. They could do anything together, and now, they would always be. She looks at her ring again, and smiles. She never imagined she could be this lucky. Getting ready, something borrowed. It looked like a festival, she noticed. An even bigger festival than what she saw and experienced in Silvertown. Rayla had to admit, it felt a tad overwhelming. It was to be expected, right, Bait? She tells the glow-toad perched on her shoulder. Not every day a human prince marries an ex-assassin moon shadow elf. She gets a soft croak in response. Rayla walks away from the window and continues down the hall. She was on a mission to find Claudia. Okay, no, that was her being overdramatic. She was just told that the older woman was looking for her and to please go to her study when she had the time. Rayla had it now, and that was a miracle in itself. Taking into account all the weeding mayhem she's been going through and the ambassador duties that hadn't magically gone away after the engagement, yes, this free time was a miracle. Rayla arrives to Claudia's study. She sighs. It was still difficult to think of it as her friend's study, as it was known for a long time as Lord Byron's. She didn't have fond memories of that room, no one did. Heck, Ranan still avoided the whole hallway like the plague. Some wounds, she knows, just run too deep to be healed. She knocks, still wondering why Claudia requested that room, and then insisted with a passion, when Ezran reinstated her as the new librarian, no magic. In fact, her main purpose was to identify and lock away every single dark magic tome. Given the size of the library, that was quite the job. The Dark Archmage title was erased from the court since Viron's disappearance at the end of the war, and Claudia had vowed to never practice the magic again. The door opens, revealing a more mature-looking Claudia. She now wore less flashy gowns that looked more comfortable, on Rayla's opinion, and with a wider color palette. Gone were the main blacks and purples. Her hair was also shorter, shoulder length, with the ever-present premature white coloring. Ray. You are home. Claudia crushes her with a hug. More mature-looking maybe, but still the same Claudia on the inside. When did you arrive? I thought you guys were still on diplomatic mission on Evenir, says Claudia, letting her go. Got here late last night and went directly to bed while Ezran kidnapped Callum. Knocked into his room this morning and snoring answered me. Claudia laughs. Say, Claudia, can I come in? Claudia stops laughing and blushes. Oh my. I'm sorry. Yes, come in. She glances at the toad. You two, Bait. Rayla could swear Bait was judging the midge. So, you and Callum still in separate rooms, she asks with a mischievous twinkle in her eye while closing the door. Yes, cause suddenly it became improper, complains Rayla, looking around the room. It was brighter than she remembers. For 10 years no one bats an eye, no one cares, and now is badly seen and a terrible representation of the monarchy, and what will the people say? Well, given that most people thought of you as already married, you are welcome, by the way, or at least entangled to a certain level, they didn't thought more about it. Now, though, it's different. It's stupid, that's what it is. 10 years, Claudia, you can assume that things already happened and you'd be right. It's not like 4 months apart will erase that fact. Rayla keeps complaining. Can't they just make peace with it and let it go? That bunch of old people around our king. Hell no. You can bet all the riches in Zadia they will never. In fact, they have never even approved of this arrangement. Only by Ezran's authority, and maybe some blackmailing on my part, they left you alone. But now they have tradition and whatnot on their part. They will only leave you guys alone when you get married. Even Lord Baelt. Oh no, he will be a thorn on your side until he dies, says Claudia. Remember that in his eyes you stole the prince from his older niece and a good access to political power. Like Ezran and Callum would have allowed it. That prissy little airhead was never an option, adding that she has nothing in common with Callum. Rayla rolls her eyes. That doesn't stop her, though. Claudia chuckles and takes bait in her arms for some belly rubs. She thinks that until Callum says I do he is fair game. He can still change his mind, she says. I believe our dear Crown Prince can now navigate the castle secret passages even better than our king. Crown Prince, repeats Rayla. Callum hates that title just as much as I hate being called lady. That won't go for long for you, says Claudia. After you marry you'll be princess or highness. Claudia laughs. I know, answers Rayla in a calm tone. Not the reaction Claudia expected. And you are fine with it? The smile Rayla sends her way can only be described as blinding. I'm not fine with it, but it means I'll spend the rest of my life with Callum so I can deal with it. Claudia sighs dreamily. You are so perfect for each other. Rayla blushes, smile still in place. I wonder if doesn't matter now, Dad ruined it for me. Claudia's eyes darken. Dangerous territory. Rayla diverts. So, I was told you were looking for me. No one knew why. Care to enlighten me? What? Oh. Yes. Claudia snaps out of her dark place. I have something for you. Claudia puts bait down, he croaks, maybe demanding more belly rubs, and goes to that hidden spot behind the bookshelf. I hope you love this. It was Soren's idea, but don't tell him I told you. Tough guy, you know. Rayla can see her looking for something. We found these among our mom's old things when we were clearing Dad's quarters. Claudia turns with a medium-sized box in her hands. What's this? Rayla takes the box Claudia is offering. It's for your trousseau, explains Claudia. Rayla looks funny at her. Human tradition. Open it and I'll explain. Rayla does, and her eyes go wide looking at the contents. The box, jewelry box to be exact, was full of exquisite pieces, but what really surprised her was that they were definitely not of human making. This is Zadian work. An elf, or several, made these, she says, in awe, picking up one piece. Very high quality. A master's work, no doubt, even better than Ephri. Rayla concentrates her senses on the jewel. A hella better than Ephri. There's powerful magic in here. How did you get these? As I was saying, it's for your trousseau. Claudia laughs at Rayla's unamused expression. It's one of our traditions. The bride has this assortment of things that are supposed to bring good luck and fortune. Something new, something old, something blue, and something borrowed. I wanted this to be your something borrowed. Claudia takes the jewelry box from the ex-assassin's hands. As I said, this was my mother's. Me and Soren thought she had taken everything back to Delbar, but we found a crate full of her things in Dad's old room. This jewelry box was among them. She pauses and takes a deep breath. I wrote to her. Asked if she wanted it back. She replied saying that these were family heirlooms from generations back, way before the divide passed down from mother to daughter. Dad was supposed to give them to me on her stead when I turned 18. They are mine now. She opens the box. And I want you to have them for your wedding. Claudia finishes with a smile from ear to ear. The only thing Rayla thinks is appropriate at that moment is to hug her friend. What can she say? After 10 years with Callum, some of his habits were bound to stick. I'd say it's something borrowed, blue, and old, she jokes, Taking a sapphire, she was sure it was at least some kind of sapphire, from the box. Claudia, I am grateful. Really. I have no words for this. Only thank you. It will be an honor. // 2 days, brother. How are you holding up? Asks Ezran before eating a jelly tart in one bite. I really hope you don't eat like that in public, says Callum, moving away from the window. It really was starting to look like a festival out there. And I'm fine. After 4 months of dealing with your council and hiding from Chloe, I'm ready to marry Rayla. In fact, if I could, I would just ask her to elope and make your original rumor true. Claudia's rumor, I just went with it, another jelly tart goes down. And if you had, in fact, done it, it would have been one heck of a story for history and future generations. So the first marriage combining 2 cultures and adding elven blood into a human royal line is not for the books. Callum raises an eyebrow at his brother. Tush. Ezran eats another tart. Let's say both versions are good stories and examples for the people, but you have to admit that the High Council's reaction would have been more extra if you'd really eloped. They would have made us marry also by Catolan law, hence this. Callum makes a circular motion with his arms. Would have still happened. Can't argue there, says Ezran, standing up, last jelly tart between his fingers. At least, after all of this ends, they won't pester you guys for an heir. Most likely, they will dread the day you announce Rayla is expecting. Talking about the council, that brings me to the thing I wanted to discuss with you, Ez. I was reviewing Catolan law in search of something that could make Baelt's niece to leave me alone when I found something interesting. I'm going to stop you right there, Callum. Ezran interrupts. I need to show you something first. You do? Can it wait? Yes and no. Should I worry, my king? Ezran shoves his brother a little with an exasperated sigh. They both chuckle at their antics. No worries, I actually hope you'll like it. Follow me. He stuffs his face with the jelly tart on his hand and starts walking. Callum follows him out the throne room, through hallways, into the barracks, and finally into the castle armory. Okay, why are we here? This is more Rayla's expertise than mine. Or Soren's. Or Aunt Amaya's, or anyone but me, really, says Callum, looking at all the assorted weapons. Don't worry, we are not here so you can prove your weapon's mastery or lack thereof. I wanted to show you something special. Ezran leads him to the back of the room to a locked door. He unlocks it with a hidden lever masked as a torch and holds it open for his brother. Sure, nothing to worry about, just a secret war room. No bad foreshadowing or anything. Ezran rolls his eyes. Just go in, will you? He does. It's a small room with wardrobes against the walls, chests, casings, and a full-body mirror in the middle of the floor. The light coming from a couple windows high up near the ceiling. Ezran follows him in, letting the door close behind him with a soft click and a distant mechanical noise. He beelines to a wardrobe on the back left and opens the double doors, waving Callum over. They stand now, side by side, in front of an armor set. A royal armor set. King Harrow's armor set. It's Dad, says Callum, softly. He was wearing it the last time right before. He takes a deep breath. Wow, deep down memory lane, huh? Ezran doesn't answer. He walks forward, takes the sword from the suit, and presents it to Callum. Ez, the young king smiles. I would like for you to wear Dad's sword on your belt at your wedding. You will need one anyways. It's included in a princely wedding robe, so, talking with Aunt Amaya, I thought of this. Are you sure? Wouldn't you like, I don't know, to save it for your own wedding? Ez rolls his eyes. It's not a one-use artifact that will disappear after the ceremony, Callum. I can also wear it on mine when the time comes. Point. Besides, you are legally my heir, Crown Prince, it's within your right and it's my word. Also, he was your dad as much as he was mine. He always. Ez's voice breaks. Callum moves forward to hug him. I know. I get it, Ez. It will be an honor to carry Dad's sword. They break apart. He will be with us. Callum takes the sword and attaches it to his belt. He notices a tiny detail and smirks. This will also be a political play against your council, won't it? Ez smiles, happy Callum had caught on it. Ulterior motives and such. But I do want you to have it for all I already said. He would have loved for you to have it. Honest. They start making their way back. Going back to what I wanted to discuss, Callum begins. There was this thing I wanted to talk to you about. Do I really want to hear this, Callum? I will say it, you want it or not. Okay, fine. They say hi to a few guards and then Callum waits for the coast to be clear to say his piece. You need to fire the council. Ezran chokes on air. Callum gives him a few pats on his back and a minute to recover. Fee deep breath. Fire the High Council. Indeed. Callum, are you mad? I can't be without a council. Yes, they are old-fashioned and can be a huge pain in the ass and we don't see eye to eye at times, but they are also of great help managing the provinces. I can't be everywhere and in charge of everything, that's why the High Council is there. To help govern and give advice. I never said for you to be without. You just told me to fire them. To replace them with a council of your peers, states Callum like it was the most obvious course of action. Wait, Ezran pinches the bridge of his nose. You are talking about a council renewal. A total council renewal. Even Opalai. Even her, says Callum. If you want you can reinstate her. I highly recommend you to reinstate her, but you need to be seen strong, no special treatments. Are you telling me I'm not strong? Ezran skulls. No. For Zubia, I'm saying everything wrong. He sits down on a bench in the hallway and motions for Ezran to do the same. Let me start over. By all means, cause I'm not liking you so much right now. There's a law. It says the High Council should be composed of a group of the king's peers, usually handpicked by the king himself, explains Callum. The High Council right now is none of those. There were Dad's peers and some were even chosen when Granddad was king. Now, they tower over you, believing their time of service makes them invaluable. They are not. During all this wedding ordeal I've seen their inadequacy to continue with their positions in court during this post-war era. Their old world views, their bigotry. Trying to influence your every decision to their likings and benefit. I could go on. Please do, answers Ezran, starting to get angry. Maybe you'll tell me something I don't already know. Callum sighs. My point, Ezran, is that you can replace them with someone you can actually work with. But not abruptly. Council of your peers. People who share modern world views. Open to change, acceptance, and not trying to restart a war for personal profit. People who will see your flaws and help you grow because of them instead of taking advantage. People who will question decisions and not impose on you or follow blindly and passively. People willing to go beyond their duty, like you. Ezran's expression relaxes, eyes down, anger slowly melting away. His brother had a point, but they will hold on to their power. Move influences, he says. Not all of them. Not Opalai, I'm sure, but the ones who do will look for their support within the people and basically gang up against me, he sighs. I'd rather avoid that. Where is the king who, years ago, told me if they don't like it, they can suck it? He grew up, Ezran answers. Callum can only nod solemnly. I have an idea, Ezran groans. Callum chuckles at his drama. Hear me out. You need to find new candidates for the council. You have all of Katolis to do it, but how, you may be wondering. Well. It's like you can read my mind, says Ezran with over-dramatic gestures. On point sarcasm, Rayla would be proud, Callum continues. You see, there is an old tradition, one that hasn't been done in a lifetime. It's called the King's Tour and it's done every 4 years. The king goes to every corner of the kingdom to see by himself how his people are doing. To see complaints for those who can't make the trip to the capital. To note projects that need to be done, but no one informed him about. Basically, to make sure that the province lord or regent is doing an adequate job on his name instead of making themselves rich and making the king look like a tyrant. Ezran smiles. That's actually not a bad idea. I'm guessing I would look for candidates during this tour. Exactly, says Callum. Me and Rayla have a couple candidates we think you'll like, but at the end it's all up to you. Okay, this is something to discuss in more depth behind closed doors. I want input about it from Rayla, Aunt Amaya, Soren, Corfus, Claudia, and Opalai. I don't plan on replacing her or making her step down for even a second, but we can see to that later. I want to see you married first. /////. When he opens the door to his room, he is not surprised to find Rayla sitting by the window in his favorite recliner with a book open in her hands. Callum smiles tenderly and walks to her after making sure the door is properly locked. 4 months ago they were giving separate rooms to avoid scandal, keep appropriate conduct, and all that nonsense about premarital do's and don'ts. So, of course, they ignored it. The complaining about it was only pretend. Rayla senses him getting close and makes room for him on the recliner. He leans in and kisses her temple, putting an arm around her. He waits until she finishes the latest chapter, just enjoying being there. You talked with Ez? She asks, closing her book. I did. He is willing to discuss about it, but after the wedding. It's fair, she nods. Ez is a good king. He'll do what he feels is right. Even if it's not what we suggest. If that ends up being the case, she says, I'll swallow my pride, respect his decision, support him at the best of my ability, and wait patiently for those old geezers to die. Callum laughs, bringing her closer. That's really something you'd do. Seems you are really in for the long haul. I wouldn't be marrying you if I wasn't, my prince, she teases. Is that so, future Princess Rayla? He teases back. Very much so. She leans in and kisses his lips. Callum can feel her smile. And don't call me princess. Difficult not to, he says. Especially with these little things on your horns. They look really nice on you. Gift from Ranan and Ethery, his touch is gentle. He got to know early on how sensible and important elves' horns were for her people. Rayla closes her eyes, enjoying the sensation. No, she semi-lies on him using his chest as pillow. Claudia gave them to me, she explains. That was really sweet of her. He concentrates his senses. It's moon magic. Really powerful, as it has lasted for so long. That's why you chose these. They felt right, just that. They will go beautifully with your dress, he says. I can't wait to see you in full regalia. Walking down the aisle on my father's arm. I'm pretty sure all I'll be able to see is you. So cheesy. She bops his nose and gets up. Come on, let's go to bed. Tomorrow I have way too many last-minute wedding meetings and I need a good rest to not kill anyone. Or to be rested enough to kill everyone, she smirks. You know me so well. Callum laughs and follows her to bed. 2 days, less than that now really, to become husband and wife. Time couldn't go fast enough. The wedding. Rayla woke up that morning alone in bed in an unfamiliar room. Her room. The one she had only slept in once for only 5 minutes before thinking screw them all and slipping into Callum's quarters that night, almost giving him a heart attack when she tapped on the outside of his window. She slept there every night since. The reason she wasn't with Callum specific this morning, choose that moment to enter her room in the loudest way possible. Your wedding is today. And you had to kick my door open to announce that, says Rayla, rubbing the sleepiness off her eyes. Seriously, Claudia. If I didn't know you I would swear you were raised in the wild. Not only you, Lady Rayla, I assure you. Rayla opens her eyes and turns to the door. Opalai and General Amaya had just come in. Opalai was glaring daggers at Claudia while Amaya was doing her best not to laugh. That was one hell of an entrance, she signs to Rayla behind Opalai's back. Soren will be proud. She practiced that. Amaya winks and Rayla rolls her eyes with a little smile on her face. So, could any of you tell me why do I owe the pleasure of your early visit? Why? To help you get ready, of course, exclaims Claudia, moving to open the drapes and window to let the sun and fresh air into the room. We got a lot to cover today to make you look like the best bride Catullus has ever seen. Claudia cracks her knuckles. Rayla gulps. Should I be afraid? She asks no one in particular. Amaya answers, signing one single word, slowly. Very. Opalai rolls her eyes. Enough chatter, ladies. Let's begin. Wait, and my mom? Shouldn't she be here with you helping me? Asks Rayla, getting out the bed and moving to wash her face. Both Tiundrin and Lane sent a message last night. They should be arriving. Opalai looks at the grandfather clock in the room. Pretty soon, really. She'll join us then. How are they getting here? A roar outside catches everyone's attention. Rayla runs to the window and laughs at the sight. By dragon. Of course they would come by dragon. / Wow, your new in-laws sure know how to make an entrance. What do you mean? They came by dragon, says Soren, looking out the window. A few seconds later they all hear the roar. Is that for real? Ezran runs to the window to also have a look. Hey, calls Callum behind the changing screen. They had moved to his room. A little help here. Corvus steps in to help him finish dress up. Callum steps in front of the full-body mirror. I still think the cape is overkill, he complains. It's tradition, says Corvus, using a brush to take off any remaining fluff from Callum's clothing. He steps around to look at him. All done. King Harrow and Queen Sari, I would feel very proud of you, my prince. Wow. Is that little Callum, says Soren, getting closer. The only reason Rayla will recognize you is because you'll be standing on the groom spot. He ruffles Callum's hair. Come on, Soren, cut it out. Callum turns to the mirror again to try and fix his hair. He catches Ezran's reflection and freezes. Ez. You okay? He walks to his brother. Yes, he dries his eyes with his sleeve. I just thought of Mom and Dad and how they should be here and got nostalgic, that's all. Yeah, Callum says, patting Ez's head. I hope I can be as good as Dad on this marriage thing. You already are, Callum answers Ezran. For the last 10 years. We are just making it official. He bumps his brother's shoulder with his fist. And take it this way, adds Soren, choosing an apple from Callum's fruit bowl. The only thing you need to do is not anger her or her extensive assassin family. Easy. Why and how could I anger anyone? I don't know, messing up. Like, big deal. Soren bites loudly on the apple. Or maybe it just sounded louder than it really was in the sudden silence. Holy shit, too, what if he fucked up? What if he did something and it made Rayla realize he was not worth it? What if they ended going their separate ways, never seeing each other again? What if Rayla found someone better? Oh great. Panic. Callum. I don't know a lot about medicine, but I'm pretty sure green is not a healthy color, says Soren, still eating his apple kind of leisurely, not aware of what he had triggered without meaning to, real concern on his tone. You okay, man? By mere answer, Callum unclips his cape, gives it to him, and runs to a flower vase on the corner to be sick in peace. I'll take that as a no, Soren. I'm not fine. Callum, what's wrong? Ezran kneels beside him, soothing his back. Come on, breath. Callum does. In and out. Corvus gives him some water which he gladly accepts. Thanks guys, he points to Soren. I'll zap you later. Fine. Can I know why? Never mind. Callum sits on the floor, back to the wall, and says to no one in particular. What if I mess up? What if something goes wrong? Then you find a way to fix it, answers Ezran, sitting beside him. First Rayla will slap your head, like she always does, and then you'll fix it. But what if she decides last minute that this is a mistake? She never wanted to be a princess. They were so concentrated on Callum they don't see Corvus slip away. You mean to tell us that you believe she will back out of this wedding? Soren intervenes. The girl who looks at you with heart eyes all the time. The one all the ladies in Katolis are jealous of. Rayla, who has fought people who talked bad about you. The elf who. I think we get it, Soren, that's enough. Soren rolls his eyes. My point, Prince, is that if I can see it, anyone can see it, and I've never seen people as in love as you guys. Soren finishes. Callum stands up and begins pacing in silence. After some minutes he stops and faces them. None hear the door opening. I've never doubted Rayla, at least not since before ZYM was born, but, what if I'm the one who is not enough? What if I make a mistake? What if, ouch, he turns. Was the slap Aunt Amaya? The room becomes silent. I went to look for her, explains Corvus, moving to Ezran's side. Figured if someone could make him come to his senses, besides Lady Rayla, would be her. Well thought, Corvus commends Ezran while their aunt takes care of Callum. Stop this nonsense, she signs, kind of aggressively. And stop acting like an idiot. You are not an idiot. You are more than enough. And don't kid yourself, You'll mess up over and over and over again. Both of you will. And then you'll learn, and grow. Messing up is part of life. She goes to Soren, takes the cape from his hands, and puts it back on Callum. Then checks the sword is correctly placed on his belt. She brushes his shoulders and finally says, "But not today. None of us will mess up today. Certainly not you," and smiles. Callum closes his eyes, takes a deep breath, holds it, and lets it go. He opens his eyes and really looks at his aunt. Here, right now, wearing the formal Katolan army uniform, no armor, she looked mightier than in any other moment. "I'm sorry, General," he says. "Aunt Amaya, you are right. I'm acting like an idiot. Letting my emotions and insecurities get the best of me. I can't be an idiot. Not today." "Well said," she signs, smiling proudly. She looks around at the other men in the room. "Now come, all of you, it's show time. .. Standing here, at the end of the aisle of the main Katolan monastery, in front of the Katolan high priest and the Silver Grove elder, a whole lot of people ranging from civilians they had insisted on being present to kings and queens from other realms, and his family and friends. Callum waits. "Do they normally take this long?" he asks to Ezran, standing next to him as his best man. "Relax, Claudia is giving Rayla's parents last-minute instructions about how to do this. Remember, they only arrived a few hours ago and it's been hectic. I still don't understand why they didn't travel with Ranan and Eferi. They would have been here days ago." "Duties, Callum. Dragon Guard. The Dragon Guard with a young dragon to worry about. You know how Moonshadow elves can be. You are about to marry one." "Point taken," answers the prince, attention once again on the main doors. /////. "And that's all you need to know," exclaims Claudia. "I'm going to my place now. When you are ready, stand before the main doors, and now to the guards." "Thank you, Miss Claudia," says Lane, shaking her hand. She smiles, looking at the family one last time before turning around. Rayla saw tears in her eyes. She kinda knew why. "Ready to walk down the aisle, Rayla?" asks Lane. "As ready as I'll be. How about you guys? Ready to give me away?" "Never," says Tiundrin. Her mom kissed her on the forehead. "When you were little we sometimes thought about this day, who you would choose. We never really imagined someone like Callum, but he is good." Rayla hugs them. They nod to each other and move to stand in front of the doors. "Ready?" Rayla takes the deepest of breaths. "Ready. .. If Callum ever thought he couldn't love Rayla more than he already did, this moment proved him wrong. Everything and everyone disappeared for him, leaving only her. She looked beautiful in the Zadian-style gown with the colors of the Moonshadow elves. It made a great contrast to his own robes in the Katolan family colors. It represented the union of two cultures. Two families. Soon enough, or not fast enough, she was standing in front of him. He takes both her hands in his, locks eyes with her. He can barely hear the Katolan high priest beginning with his sermon, all his focus on the one he deemed most important. .. As soon as she entered the room on both her parents' arms, the first thing she did was look for Callum. She finds him on the dais already looking at her, his eyes bright with happy tears. She was sure her own were no different. She arrives at his side soon enough, or not fast enough, and lets him take her hands and lock eyes with her. He looked so handsome in his royal outfit and colors. The sword at his hip a nice touch. The cape though was a little overkill, but they would get rid of it soon enough. The Katolan high priest begins with the human part of the ceremony. It's boring. Rayla would never understand why humans needed so much pomp and fanfare on these situations. They tried to make it simple, like Hartran and Jodi's wedding back in Silvertown some months ago. They tried, they really did, but a prince can't be married like a town's nobody. She broke the nose of the person who said that. So they were forced to give in. Finally, it's time for Silver Grove's elder to do the elven part of the ceremony. Something short and to the point. Both men ask for the rings, the elder blesses them with magic, and Callum and Rayla exchange them while saying their vows. Almost there. Now, by the power given to me as High Priest, and by the blessing of Zadia and the primal sources. We join these two lives together, they say at the same time. You may kiss. Rayla beats them to it, taking Callum by his jacket lapels and crashing their lips together. She could swear she heard Soren whistling in approval. Callum also doesn't mind the breaking of protocol as he wraps his arms around her and kisses back with fervor, bringing her as close to him as he can. They only break apart after Ezran politely but loudly clears his throat to catch their attention. Rayla risks a look at the old men beside them. Elder Tyne is laughing heartily while the human priest looks scandalized, all red in the face. Rayla winks at him for good measure. Elder Tyne elbows him on the ribs so they can finish the ceremony. Presenting Crown Prince Callum of Katolis and his now wife, Princess Rayla of Katolis. Callum, never letting go of his wife's hand, starts walking to the door among the cheer in the room. Rayla stops him in the middle of the aisle to kiss him again. They don't say anything. There was no need. They were married. They did it. /////. The party that followed at the castle ballroom was formal but, thanks to Claudia and Soren's meddling, not dull. Ezran gave a speech, of course, and there were several toasts to their name. Wine and mead and ale flowing freely to every cup. They dance, as moon shadow elves did, they eat, they laugh, they drink, they dance some more. They also people watch. They see Janai blush as Amaya bows in front of her very gallantly asking for a dance. They see Ethery shaking his head good-naturedly at Ranan and Queen Anya as they brag to each other about their archery prowess trying to outdo the other. They see Rayla's parents drinking and joking with Ezran. They see Ellis and Ava playing with a cluster of kids, elven and human alike. They see Luyan and Ibis showing off each other's magic to a fairly big audience. Callum makes a mental note about telling his teacher about Luyan's ex-husbands. And it went on and on. Everywhere they looked there was merriment. We are only missing the dragons, notices Rayla while Callum spins her in the dance. I invited the one who brought my parents to stay, but he said he didn't want to impose. Impose? Meaning he is big and there's not enough space. Callum looks around and nods. Yeah, would have been a tight fit. They keep on dancing, not a care in the world. The moment was theirs. Have I told you how beautiful you look tonight? Callum whispers close to her lips. About 10 times already, she answers. But you can say it again. You look so. He doesn't finish the phrase, opting to kiss her instead. ////. They look good together, don't they? Asks Tiundrin, looking at her daughter and new husband from afar. Yes, Ezran agrees. Face a bit flushed from the alcohol. I just wish my brother would have asked for her hand years ago. Maybe I would already be an uncle. Look at them, young king, little ones will come soon enough for us to pamper and spoil. Ez nods. And you, King Ezran? Someone special? Asks Lane. Special for me, at least he confesses, he blames the spirits. But I don't know if I'm special enough, he drinks. But, you are a king. And some are just not impressed. Not when they have a similar title and only see you as a good friend. Yes, it was definitely the booze. Ez notices the embarking calling him over. If you'll excuse me. Should we tell Rayla? We do owe him for protecting her happiness, avoiding his brother to be engaged to another for convenience. She and Callum could help the king, says Lane when Ezran is out of earshot. Something tells me they will know soon enough if they don't already, answers Tiundrin, putting a close to the subject. Now, come on. I want to dance with our son-in-law and you owe your daughter a dance. ////. Ez watches from the balcony with Bait as company as the last party attendants leave for the night. He wonders if he'll be as lucky as Rayla and Callum one day. Well, my friend, he tells Bait. For now I'll be content with being an uncle. What do you think? Bait croaks. End. 9 months. They blame fate. Fate wanted this to happen. It was the doing of a power greater than all primal sources put together. Or maybe it was just a miscalculation on their part. Or chance. Or plain bad luck. Maybe, in a distant future, they would look back at this moment and realize what a blessing it really was and how lucky they were. Whatever the case, none of the people involved were happy at the moment. Why would they? After all, Rayla wasn't supposed to start labor right now. But the midwife said we had another month. Oh really? Well, this baby is saying now and there's nothing I can do about it. That was about 3 hours ago. At the moment Callum was waiting in a hallway bench outside his and Rayla's room cause his wife had thrown him out. Apparently he was fuzzing too much and didn't let the midwife or her assistant work in peace. At least he wasn't alone. Queen Anya had taken pity on him and was currently keeping him company. I got to say, Callum. Thanks to you both, this has been my most interesting birthday so far, she says, grinning. Because of course the baby is not only 1 whole month early, they also decided that the kingdom of Duran was the perfect place to be born. We at least know your baby has excellent taste. Duran is the perfect place to be born. And the fact that you guys could share a birthday amuses you, I'm sure. You would be totally right, yes, her grin widens. Callum sighs and lowers his head, holding it with his hands. This is so not going as planned. You can't expect to have full control all the time, Callum. Even with all your primal connections. Yeah, maybe he agrees half-heartedly. But now I'll have to deal with all the I told you so back home. What do you mean? Well, you know why Ezran couldn't come. The king's tour is set to go out in 3 months and the last preparations are taking all his free time. Anya nods. So, instead of rejecting the invitation, Rayla suggested we should come. It was the logical decision. Anya agrees. It was a state affair, after all. A kingdom representative from Katolis was expected. To send the crown prince and his wife, who also have vast experience in political affairs, can be seen as one smart choice. Except that everyone was against the idea, Callum explains. Opalai and Corvus were to come with General Amaya as escort, but Rayla insisted and I supported the idea. Callum switches to a high-pitched voice. She is heavy with child. You can't risk her giving birth on the road. Was that supposed to be Claudia? Anya shakes her head. Never mind. So, what happened next? All were in favor of us not coming, but Rayla. Callum sighs again. She's been feeling down for some time now. The pregnancy doesn't allow her to do most of what she wants. People also treated her like she was going to break at the minimum effort or touch. She hates being treated like that, like she is made of glass, and all of them telling her, she couldn't come was a direct hit to her pride, concludes Anya. Yes. So, for her well-being, you convinced them to let you come. Yes. That's love, Callum. You did it for her. Maybe things went south a little over here, but in my book you are a good husband. I'll vouch for you. All 3 of you can stay in my court as long as you need or want. Heck, I'll even give you all Duran titles and lands if that will help. Thank you, Anya. That's a loud scream coming from inside the room interrupts them. Callum makes to run inside, but Anya stops him. Take it easy, she'll be fine. But. No buts, sit. She pulls him down on the bench and he falls like a sack full of rocks. The midwife in there, Zailra, she was in charge when I was born. Rayla is in good hands. Callum's worried face doesn't go away. She was sure he hadn't even listened what she said. The prince needed a distraction. Say, Callum, how did people react when you guys announced she was with child? She sees him smile and mentally pats her back. It was one of our best moments. A personal favorite and kind of a lethal once as well. 7 months ago. Silver Grove was beautiful this time of the year. Callum just wished he could explore it with his wife, but sadly they were here on official business. His wife. Well. Even after a little over a year he was still amazed he could call her that. Someone is lost in thought today. Callum turns and smiles brightly. He opens his arms and Rayla walks to him, accepting his embrace. He kisses her lips, lightly. Let me guess, they sent you to bring me back. Please, like they could make me do anything for them. She rolls her eyes. I mean, maybe if they asked nicely, but no. Women, go get your husband, they said. So I took one of my swords, pointed it at them and told them, if you want us back, grow a pair and come get us yourself, and then left the room. Callum chuckles. That was something she would do. It was just so Rayla. Well, it seems we have some free time on our hands now, he says. You in the mood for some Moonbury surprise? Thought you would never ask. Dash. Wait, Callum, what does this have to do with my question? Anya interrupts. Calm down, Your Majesty, I'm painting the picture. Dash. Auntie Athian puts 2 cups of Moonbury surprise in front of them on the counter before either can place their order. They look at her, puzzled. Saw you coming. This is today's special. Enjoy it. Each take a cup, pay, thank her, and make their way to their favorite spot by the fountain hand in hand. They sit and Callum takes 2 spoonfuls. This is what I needed. Auntie Athian sure knows her craft. I don't know, says Rayla, frowning. It tastes weird to me. Let me taste. Rayla gives him her cup. It tastes the same as mine. Want to trade, just in case? Rayla nods. She takes a little bite and gags. Oh dragons. No, definitely not. Callum's turn to frown. That was not normal. He moves closer. Rayla looked pale. Rayla, honey, are you alright? Rayla doesn't answer. She just bolts to the nearest bushes and empties her stomach. Shit. Rayla. Callum was at her side in an instant. Luckily this was a secluded spot so no one saw what was happening. Easy there, love, I'm here. Tell me what you need. For you not to make a fuss, she says, her tone annoyed. I'm fine. Must be something I ate on the road. I just need to rest. Want some company? Ethery must be home. I'll go there. You sure? Rayla rolls her eyes. Yes, she says. I'm feeling better already. You go finish seeing to that meeting before they kill each other. I'll see you at dinner. Rayla kisses his cheek and walks away. Callum stays there, not much convinced. He would talk to her later, after she had some time to rest and clear her mind. Now, to deal with the idiots waiting at the Silver Grove Hall. Dash. Rayla didn't connect the dots then, asks Anya. She must have missed a couple of her cycles by then. None of us thought more of it, and she didn't get sick again during our stay. Though she did say Ethery's Moonbury pie smelled funny. So, Moonbury's. Then what? We returned to Katolis. Dash. Ezran meets them at the gate, as always. It was a nice December day. Callum, Rayla, welcome home. He hugs them. It's good to be back, says Callum, letting go to turn his horse satchel. Got something for today's dinner. From Ranan and Ethery. Moonbury cider. Ezran takes the bottle, uncorks, and the sweet smell goes everywhere. Good harvest, but 1 bottle will be enough. We still have full crates of Firebury ale Aunt Amaya brought from her last visit to Luxora. Wasn't her last visit like 4 months ago? She brought a whole cart. We have enough ale to last well into the next year. Isn't that Queen Jani's favorite drink? Rayla points out. Ez and Callum nod. And they insist to have nothing formal between them. At least nothing stated on parchment, but they both seem content with their arrangement. They are as serious about each other as they can be, answers Ezran. Taking into account their duties with their kingdoms, it's a complicated situation. A general and a queen, I mean. They make it work. Ezran interrupts his brother, a tad stronger than he intended. He softens his voice. Let's just leave it at that. Your Majesty, a young page says, stopping abruptly in front of him and a little out of breath. His bow is a little sloppy. I'm sorry to interrupt, my king, but I was told to. I know. Coming. Ezran ruffles the kid's hair and then turns to Callum and Rayla. Kingly business to attend. See you both at dinner. He passes Rayla the Moonbury bottle and leaves. Did Ez seemed weird to Rayla? Okay. Yes, I'm fine, just cork this and let's go. I need a bath, a nap, and change of clothes before dinner. She shoves the bottle on his hands and quickly goes inside. Maybe he was imagining things, but she looked a little green for a second. / Later that evening, on their way to dinner, they were stopped by a very unpleasant person, Councilman Lord Friggan. Ah, Prince Callum. Welcome home. I hope you and the princess had a nice trip. Callum side glances at Rayla, who shrugs. No offense, Lord Friggan, but what do you want? What do you mean? I asked first. Callum says. It's no secret you are not one of my wife's greatest fans, so to include her in your greeting is shady at best. So I ask again, what do you want? My prince, I assure you. Save your lies and fake cordiality, Friggan interrupts Rayla, making emphasis on the old man's name, no title. Don't make us waste our time. Answer my husband's question, what do you want? Friggan's jolly expression turned sour, like he was smelling something rotten. It was pure unaltered disgust. Fine, if you insist, your highness, he mocks her and then addresses Callum. I want you to call off this king tour nonsense your brother insists on having. No, he answers. Simple and to the point. Anything else? Friggan gets red in the face. No. Just like that. He is king. I won't go against his wish. Less even cause it was my idea originally. The redness increases. Rayla thought he looked like an old pomegranate. Have you any idea what you started? What you instigated? The king can't be paraded around like a buffoon, less during this dangerous times within the kingdom. Dangerous? Rayla intervenes. This is our most peaceful times, within and outside our borders. Peaceful? With all those elves going around freely as they own the place. A vein pops in Callum and Rayla's foreheads. This is, in fact, the most dangerous times in Katolis. Elves eep. Friggan yelps as he is slammed to the wall by an angry Callum. He had had enough of this buffoon. Callum gets close enough to the old racist man to smell the alcohol on his breath. Think your next words very carefully, Friggan. Remember your place and in whose presence you are. I won't allow any other insult to come out of you. Maybe you still haven't realized it, but you can be easily replaced and, believe me, no one will miss you around here. He lets Friggan go and the man falls on his ass. He gets back to his feet in a hurry, all color gone from his face. Well. The Lord doesn't answer. He just hurries past them, not glancing back, and disappears around a corner. I'm so hot for you right now, says Rayla, putting her arms around his neck and kissing him deeply. That definitely improves his mood. I could still kill him, you know, she adds with a smile and wink, taking his hand and retaking their way to dinner. Rayla, Callum admonishes, not fighting the smile. I mean, he is old, accidents happen, she says. Your commitment to our kingdom is impressive, my love, but it won't be necessary, he says, playing along, and in a more serious tone he adds. He'll be gone soon enough anyways. All of them will, or so I hope. He lifts her hand to his lips and kisses it. But we can worry about that later. Come on, let's hurry to dinner before Ezran sends out a search party. /////. Rayla, are you feeling okay? You haven't touched your food, notices Amaya from her seat in front of her. I'm fine, just not that hungry, she answers, sighing and out loud. Are you sure, whispers Callum. You haven't been eating much lately. Since we were last at Silver Grove at least. She covers his hand with hers over the table. I'm fine, I promise. She goes to drink from her untouched Fireberry ale. The smell alone made her nauseous, but she drank anyways to prove all was well. It didn't taste as she remembered. In fact, it was the most disgusting thing ever to touch her tongue. She felt her stomach turn on itself in seconds. She couldn't stay. She was gonna be sick. I'm going to go, lie down. Rayla. I'm fine, really. She stands up and sudden dizziness hits her. I just need. And then everything went dark. ////. Callum and Ezran waited outside of Rayla's chambers. The healer, an Earthblood elf named Farah who Ezran had hired a couple years back, only allowed Aunt Amaya to stay. Men have no business here, at the moment. Shoo, she told them. Has this happened before, Callum? No, he answers. Or not this bad. She has thrown up a couple times this past 2 weeks, but... Damn it. I should have insisted she saw a healer, Ez. She needed this sooner, but she insisted she was fine and I didn't push, though I knew I should have. Hey, easy. It's not anyone's fault. And you have me for support. And Aunt Amaya, and Claudia, and Soren, and a lot more people. You both do. We'll get through whatever this is. Thanks, Ez. That really means. Your Majesty. They both turn to see who is interrupting them. They see Friggan walking down the hall of the private family wing of the castle. He was flanked by Opalai and Lord Baelt. Callum noticed that Friggan's mood had greatly improved from earlier. Baelt also looked quite pleased, but Opalai looked ready to cut some throats with her bare hands. Both brothers stand up to face them. What are you doing here? Only guards on duty, family members, or specific requested people can come into this wing. Ez was so not in the mood for political plays. Leave, before you are forcibly removed. Your Majesty, we mean no insult. We heard about the Lady Rayla's poor health and wanted to offer our support to the royal family, says Friggan with an annoying saccharine tone. More like to confirm there it was true she is ill, Callum whispers loud enough for only Ezran to hear. Oh, you are doing that, sure. And how exactly did you find out about the princess? Friggan ignores the way Ezran corrects Rayla's title. Word spreads quickly, Your Majesty. The guards saw that elf you insist to have as healer coming to this wing of the castle and into the ladies' chambers. It was easy to come to conclusions. Callum takes a step forward with all intention of frying Friggan's face, but Ezran stops him with a steady hand on his chest. That's right, continues Baelt with his nasal voice, oblivious to the prince's fury. We are just worried. And I told them they could wait for an official announcement like everyone else or to the next High Council meeting instead of relying on castle rumors, says Opalai stepping up and standing next to the brothers. It is none of your damn business. I agree with Opalai, Ezran. They have no business here. Callum's fingers spark. Both old men smirk. If Callum lost control, Ezran needed to act. You heard your prince and head of council Opalai, he stalks over them. And now you hear to your king. Get the hell out of here before I. The squeaking noise of the door hinges makes everyone turn. Farah, the healer, was there with her ever-present peaceful expression. If she noticed the tension on the air, she didn't comment on it. Callum walks to her, the lighting on his hands fading, expression worried. How is she? Is it bad? He could feel the four behind him clinging to their every word. Farah smiles tenderly at him. She is fine, sleeping and recovering at the moment. But there is nothing wrong with her. All she is experiencing now, and what she'll experience in the months to come, is completely normal for her condition. All this is just her body adjusting to all coming changes. So Rayla is not in danger. At all, King Ezran. She'll feel out of sorts for some weeks, but she'll get used to it in due time. I would recommend to start talking about names, if you catch my drift. She winks and Callum's expression brightens. Yes, he hollers, hugging Farah if only cause she was closest to him. At the same time Baelt screams no. What's this all about? Friggan asks, confused. Apparently he was the only one not catching what the elf meant, as King Ezran and Opalai were now hugging and congratulating the prince for something. How stupid can you be, Friggan? It's more than obvious. His brain catches up. He pales. Is she really? Yes, your lordship, answers Farah. Princess Rayla is with child. / / And after Farah said it out loud, Friggan passed out and on. The town healer told us later that it might have been a heart attack due to the shock. Callum finishes with the story. Wow, talk about being overdramatic. Rather be dead than have a halfling in line for the throne. Anya had heard rumors, of course, bless. Castle gossip, but she wasn't sure how accurate that information really was. And Ezran didn't replace him. He took that chance to announce the final goal of his tour, total council renewal. He also announced that Opalai would be the only one staying on her post, as she had shown over and over again her loyalty to the crown and her incorruptible values, explains Callum. Good, I like her. She was ever the only one to never treat me like a child. Only bad thing though, Corvus had to stop an assassination attempt the very next day, Callum says. What? Seriously? Yes, but it's Corvus. He would never let anything happen to anyone on his charge, even less to his wife. And did you find who sent the assassin? Aunt Amaya and Gren made him talk. 2 council people were arrested. Surprisingly, it was not Lord Baelt, he says. Pity. I hate the guy. Another scream from inside the room catches the prince's attention. Anya is quick to divert. So, with Rayla pregnant, I guess traveling got tricky. Callum snickers. You have no idea. It was fine at first, when she was not showing much, but later, let's say it was taxing for all involved. 4 months ago. I am not taking a carriage back. I'm in perfect health and condition to ride my damn horse. I know, dear. Besides, a carriage is slower and bumpier and more prone to accidents on the road than traveling on horseback. Of course, sweetie. And I refuse to have this discussion every time I'm required to travel. Yes, my love. Rayla looks at the three individuals in front of her, her husband and her parents. Are you being condescending with me? No, all of them say together. But Callum adds. The carriage Zubia gave us is top of the line and we are in no hurry, so why not enjoy it? Because I'm 4 months pregnant and not an invalid, she stomps her foot down. Callum would never say it out loud, he valued his life, but Rayla looked too adorable at that moment. Rayla, honey, Tiundrin intervenes instead, voice soft. I know what you are going through and yes, it sucks, but you have to realize it's not just you anymore. Rayla sighs, her hand going down to rest over her baby bump on instinct. For a 4 months pregnancy, on estimate, she was bigger than average. I know, Rayla insist. But I can't just be treated like I'm made of glass. I'm a trained assassin and former dragon guard, for crying out loud. Rayla, my love, says Callum stepping up. If I've treated you any different, I'm truly sorry. You are definitely not made of glass. You are the strongest, most amazing person I've ever met, but he puts his hand over hers on her belly. Where you are not glass, this baby is, and the same way I will never let anything happen to you, I also don't want anything happening to them. Not like you do, never. But maybe avoid unnecessary risks. Rayla's mom steps away silently. She was not needed there. Callum was good at it, and, though it pained her that he knew her daughter better than she ever will, it also made her happy. Very happy. I hate it, you know. When you make sense, she says, and Callum beams. She rolls her eyes and then touches her forehead to his. Just promise me you won't keep overreacting and we'll go in the carriage this time. Only this time. Fine, for long journeys. And I decide what is a long journey. It's fair, he concedes. And give me a break, yes. All of you. I may be a double now, but it's still my body and I know it better than any of you. Also fair, says Callum. I'm sorry if I treated you any less than you deserve. Apology accepted, she kisses him and smiles. Don't do it again. /////. That's actually quite cute, says Anya, and she sighs. If only all the suitable suitors I've met so far were a little like you. If only. No luck, huh? You and Ezran are tough cases. You have that in common. If Callum hadn't being so focused on the door of the room, he would have noticed Anya's hurt expression, though it only lasted for a handful of seconds. He is kind of dodging the topic for now, all with his torso soon and the council renewal, but he is 22 now. He doesn't have that much choice in the matter about it happening. Not like me. Kings and queens not always can marry out of love. My mother's and your stepfather are rare cases. And have you considered an elven union? Your court wouldn't be as opposed to it as in Catolis. Her loud laughter surprises him. Good one, Callum, he frowns. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against it, and my advisors have actually dropped a couple hints about it as an option. Our Zadian border towns have a high rate of halfling weddings and births. In fact, I encourage it, but for me, she sighs. Not all elves are like Rayla. What do you mean like Rayla? Willing to marry royal. How is that different from oh? You get it. Yeah, I guess I do, he smiles, thinking back on his original reasons to not propose all those years ago. The responsibilities that came with the crown were a huge deterrent. Anya was right. Not everyone was like Rayla. Lucky me, I guess. And lucky her, says Anya, and adds. And lucky baby. You got my gift for the little one, right? You mean the many bows and arrows? Callum side glances. Yes, yes we did. 1 month ago. Ranan was fuming. How dare that little queen? How dare she? Easy, my heart says Effery, with infinite patience. Don't go and start another war for something so mundane. Mundane. We were supposed to be the ones to give the baby their first weapon set. To see what is their best affinity during training and award them with their very own sword, spear, bow and arrows, or whatever they would master during their life. Effery raises an eyebrow. And I'm the one who should teach them to shoot. There it is. Effery chuckles. You can still do that, run on. No one says you can't. Maybe, but with that. Effery follows Ranan's gaze to the table in front of Rayla and Callum. It was overflowing with weapons of all sizes. It was more than obvious that Queen Anya had thought about the kids' development stages. There were a couple of small and simple wooden bows, perfect for a 5-year-old or so first lessons. There were a couple bigger bows for when they outgrow the first set. Another pair of short bows and long bows for tricky and long-distance shots for when they were ready for something more advanced, and so. Also, every weapon came with its respective set of arrows and protection gear. Effery even recognized a crossbow with a box full of iron bolts. He made a mental note to never get on the Queen of Duran's bad side. Look at all that. It seems like overkill to me. Ranan keeps on complaining. But look at Rayla. I think her opinion on the matter outweighs any other, my love. Cause Rayla was beaming. Looking closely at every bow and arrow and admiring the artisan's work and details. The millimetric precision, the bow tension, the sharpness of each arrowhead. All wonderful. Look here, Callum. She made the weapons maker leave enough space to carve out the baby's name. So thoughtful. Dash. By the way, what name did you choose? The perfect one. And no, I'm not telling yet. Anya pouts. Spoil sport. Dash. You will be the best archer the lands have ever seen. I'm sure Uncle Ranan is dying to train you. Rayla looks up at her uncle. Are you sure you still want them to learn with me? All those human-style weapons. I don't have the experience with them. You have 5 years to practice then, says Callum. You know Rayla won't change her mind. Also, no one better to teach them how to use an elven bow. He is right, Ranan. Rayla continues. I'll teach them how to use a sword, Callum will teach them magic, Ezran how to sneak around the castle to steal jelly tarts, and you how to shoot. Rayla wants them to be the first half-elf general of the Katolan army. It's not what I want, Callum, more of what I would like. He face softens. Whatever you want to do, my baby, but either way you'll know how to defend yourself and kick some ass. .. That was adorable. Absolutely adorable, says Anya. You and Rayla will be amazing parents, Callum. I really hope so, Anya. The noises coming from inside the room become more frantic. If I'm honest, I'm freaking out. And that's how I know you'll be great. You care so much. How could I not? I love them so much. They stay silent after that. Waiting. An eternity later, Anya would later clarify it was more like 20 minutes, the door opens. Your Majesty, Your Highness, how are you, says the midwife's assistant, Nani. All good, Nani, just giving the prince some company. The young girl nods, and turns to Callum. I'm to inform His Highness that his wife is ready to push and that she wants hay. I'm still talking here, she yells after Callum, who bolted inside the room past her. Men. First-time parents. Don't you remember the apothecary? He forced his way into his wife's room. Weird cases. Normally men pale when requested to be present and ask over and over again if their wives are sure they want them there. The girl turns pensive. Though, they do end up going in, most of them at least. Strange creatures, men. Indeed, Your Majesty. A high-pitched scream catches their attention. Oh shoot. Apologies, Queen Anya, I gotta go. And the girl runs inside, letting the door close behind her. Anya sighs happily and looks at the clock. Almost midnight. She wonders if she will indeed share a birthday with this baby. Not important. Anya shakes her head, glances one last time at the door, and starts her way to her quarters. One day she would be on the other side of that door, and maybe, if she found that damn loophole, she would be with the one she loved. .. Rayla was good at keeping secrets. It came with being trained as an assassin from a tender age. Assassins don't reveal information. They would first resist torture or die before saying anything. Anything but betray their people, comrades, and family. That's why hiding this surprise from Callum wasn't that hard, and seeing his face when he found out made it all worth it. I still can't believe you kept it from me. I wanted to surprise you. Are you mad? Mad, he smiles and leans down to kiss his exhausted wife's lips. I could never be mad about this. He turns to where Zahra was cleaning and wrapping his son with blankets. When did you found out? When the kicks increased, she says. I went to Farah and she confirmed it. We were ready for it back home. So no one else knew. Just the two of us. Well, I had to tell Zahra and Nani, of course, so they could be ready. Callum turns a little to the right, where a second changing table was set. Nani was there, busy cleaning and wrapping his daughter with a blanket. Twins. Callum turns to Rayla again, eyes watery. Twins, he repeats. They are perfect, like their mum. Rayla smiles a tired smile and sighs. I'm happy you think that, cause I'm not doing this again for a long time, you hear? I hear, whatever you want. You tell me when you feel ready. He kisses her temple and she knows he means it. Your Highnesses, want to meet your children? They nod enthusiastically. Zahra gives Rayla the baby boy and Nani gives Callum the little girl, both showing the new parents the correct way to hold the little ones. I'll go clean up and then come back to see about the feedings, Princess Rayla. Are you sure you want to nurse them? Won't you consider a wet nurse? Not in a dragon's lifetime, she grins. // Can I come in? Anya. Yes, of course. Come in and meet them. Callum invites her in with quite the enthusiasm. It was noon of the next day. She was informed the babes were officially born a little after midnight, making their birthdays the 23rd of June. Such a short window. Oh well. Such an honor having the Queen of Duran be their first visitor, jokes Rayla from the bed. Indeed, she plays along with a curtsy. How are you feeling? Tired, says Rayla, looking at the two basinets next to the bed, but never better. They just finished eating, so they are sleeping, explains Callum, guiding her closer to the basinets. She looks in and gasps. Oh my. They are so cute, guys. They sure take after their mum. Their elven blood is strong. They got my eyes, though, says Callum, full of pride. And they also have 5 fingers and 5 toes instead of 4. She shakes her head at Callum and moves to sit on the chair between the basinets and the bed. So, who's the eldest, she asks. She is, by 4 minutes. And can I know their names now? Callum and Rayla exchange glances. She nods. I don't see why not. You are their godmother after all. Anya almost gets whiplash with how fast she moved her head back and forth between the two of them. You want me to, you are asking me? Do you really? You don't want to? Are you kidding? I would love to, and now she was crying. Thank you. It will be an honor. Who is their godfather? Ezran, of course, says a happy Callum. Obvious answer. Of course he would be. So, officially let me introduce you to Sarai and Aiden. Aiden. Not Harrow. We decided to leave Harrow open for Ezran, says Rayla. Makes sense, but why Aiden? It's a beautiful name, but why? We named him after a sunfire elf. He was our friend and a loyal soldier to Queen Janai. He was our guard and guide whenever we were in Luxora, says Callum. Was. He died, explains Rayla. There was an assassination attempt on Callum. He took an arrow for him. Naming your son after an elf and not after a former Katolan king who also happened to be your stepfather. Bold move. I love it, she smiles and moves closer to the basinets again. They were really beautiful babies. By the way, I wrote to Ezran. Figured you still hadn't. I used my fastest hawk, so we should be receiving an answer soon enough from him. I also took the liberty of sending a message to Silver Grove and the Spire. Rayla, hope you don't mind. Not at all, thank you. We've been kinda busy for those formalities. They all look at the babies and smile. Rayla turns to her husband. You better write to Ezran as well or you'll never hear the end of it. I'll do it now and send the message with our fastest rider. Or you could use one of Ethery's arrows, she says. I know you always carry a couple for emergencies. Brilliant. I don't know what I'd do without you. He kisses her on the cheek. You gonna be alright while I'm gone? Yes, you worry what, she laughs. Go, the Queen will stay with me, I'm sure. Okay, be right back. He leaves the room but not before kissing her and the babies one more time. He looks so happy it gets a little annoying, jokes Anya. Be glad you won't be on the receiving end of that smile for long, she jokes back. So, Your Majesty, any of this in your future? That's a given, she answers. I mean, I do have the duty to procure an heir for my kingdom. That's something I've always known and, to be honest, I do want to. I want to be a mom. My problem is who to do that with. If I'm not being impertinent, Anya, well, there was a rumor, says Rayla, testing the waters. They were about a lady of your court. That you two were, and I quote, awfully close and not too proper with each other. Rayla sees Anya smile sadly and sigh, like remembering good times gone by. What happened? For starters, she's gone now. Not dead, she adds quickly at Rayla's expression. Just gone. I cared for her a great deal, but not as she deserved, and she knew it. Evelyn is pretty sharp, and she got to know me better than most. She realized that, even if I did love her, I was never in love with her. She knew my heart is still pining for someone else and, well, who wants to be second pick, right? You are in love. Truly. Yes, she admits. And it sucks. Why? Because it can't be. No matter what I do, it can't. But you are a queen, reasons Rayla. And that makes it the more difficult. I don't get it, she shakes her head. If this person makes you happy, then why wait? Lord of Dragons, is it unrequited? Anya gives her a dark chuckle. No, it's not, and that makes it suck even more. Okay, I'm confused. You love this person and they love you, but you can't marry. Rayla makes a face. I don't get it. Just leave it at that. We can't. No. There must be a way, she insists. Rayla, drop it. Anya was starting to lose her patience. No. It doesn't make any sense. Rayla, Anya tries to stop her. She ex-assassin doesn't listen. Two people that make each other happy have to be together. Rayla, stop it. Anya's voice gets louder. But you are a queen. If you love someone and they you then. Because a queen can't marry a king. Anya explodes. Her scream is loud enough to wake up the babies. Shit. She runs to them, picks them up, and gives them to their mom. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Sorry. No, I apologize, counters Rayla. I pushed you. I'm sorry. They stay silent for a few minutes while the babies calm down and fall back to sleep. Rayla cradles Sarai in her arms and gives Aiden to Anya. Can I ask who it is? I think you already know. Rayla nods. It actually makes sense. Ezran. Anya nods. I see, and yes, it's complicated, but I don't think it's impossible. Well, I've been looking for the loophole for 2 years and still nothing. For a queen to marry a king, one of them would need to abdicate their throne. I can't leave Duran, I have no heir, and Ezran won't do that to Callum. She looks at Rayla. You get it, right? If that were to happen, Callum would be king and you his queen, and these little ones first and second in line for the Katolan throne. Ezran knows that's not what you guys want. He also doesn't want that. Rayla nods. Anya was right. All that situation was one big political clusterfuck. Please don't tell him, she hears the queen talk. What? Rayla, please, as your friend I'm begging you, don't tell Ezran about this conversation. / Don't tell Ezran. Anya, a queen, begged for her not to say anything. And of course she agreed. But not telling Ez also meant not telling Callum. If Callum knew, he would eventually tell Ezran. Mostly cause he would act weird around his younger brother and end up spilling the beans from the pressure. She sighs. She couldn't help it, it had to be done. Lucky her, she was good at keeping secrets. When Callum comes back a couple hours later, Anya was already gone and Nani had taken her place. It was feeding time once more. How's everything? He asks, getting closer. Excellent, Your Highness, answers Nani, holding Sarai. This little one just finished her meal and Mom is busy with the prince. Want to try and burp her? Yes, he says immediately and reaches for his daughter. Nani helps him position the baby in his arms. So, keep her like this. Now, don't pat her back, it just moves the milk around and they could throw up. Just make small soft circular movements with your hand on her back, Callum does as instructed. Yes, like that. You are a natural, Your Highness, she turns to Rayla. All going well, Your Highness. You've seen me at my worst, Nani, I think you can just call me Rayla. Oh no. I could never, Your Highness. But I do appreciate the sentiment, the girl smiles. I tried, Rayla shrugs. And to answer your question, all is good with Aiden. He'll finish soon. Great. I think you can fend for yourself now, but I'll still come back tomorrow just in case you have any more questions. Zaira will come later to check on you, Princess, and a maid will be bringing a hearty meal for you as well. Gotta keep Mom strong and healthy as well. And the dad, teases Callum. Dad can do the dirty job, she says, glancing at the baby in his arms. Diaper changes, to start. Nani smiles and gathers her things. Gotta go. See you tomorrow, she bows and leaves. As soon as the door closes, Sarai starts fuzzing and making faces. A few seconds later the smell of a poopy diaper hits Callum's nose. Dirty work. All right. Let's do this, shall we, he tells his baby, walking to the changing table already set up. You'll do Aiden next after I burp him, laughs Rayla. They stay in comfortable silence. Rayla starts wondering if she should board the Ezran topic with Callum. Not directly involving Anya, but seeing if he had come to a decision about courting any of the options he has being presented. The king may not have a complete counsel at the moment, but Opalai makes sure to keep him on his toes about it. She was so into her thoughts that she misses what Callum begins to tell her. She shakes her head. Sorry, you were saying. That I heard some rumors today when I went to shoot the arrow with the message, he repeats. There were a couple guards stationed in that part of the roof. They congratulated us on the birth and we started talking. What did they say exactly? She moves Aiden over her shoulder to burp him. Nothing too sensitive, I hope. I would hate to be forced to silence someone. Callum smiles and shakes his head. He finishes changing Sarai's diaper and moves to the bed with the sleeping baby in his arms. Nothing that can be considered high treason, don't worry, he continues. Just some things married guys tend to wonder about. They were mainly curious about personal things. Rayla frowns and blushes. Don't worry, I shut them up on that with some lightning demonstration, but, before I left, they mentioned Anya. What did they say? Well, as we were on the marriage topic, they mentioned that the Duran Council is having a hard time finding suitors. That she will dismiss offers without even looking at them. That they hoped Lady Evelyn would be the one, only for her to leave court in less than a year. Now there's some internal tension cause she just turned 24. The ones that don't see a problem and the ones who want an heir to the throne. They said that the second group is starting to raise unease on the people about the kingdom's future. Well, if the guards know, doesn't matter. Anya won't let anyone bully her. Things will fall where they may in due time, says Rayla. Aiden burps. I do hope so, Callum sighs. He hated court drama. I'm just glad we won't have that same problem with Ezran. What do you mean? I'm pretty sure he is in love, he says. Aiden chooses that moment to poop, so the couple exchange babies. Wait. Hold it. Ezran is in love. I'm almost certain he is, he says while working on Aiden's diaper. According to Crowmaster and Crowlord, he has been sending and receiving many letters from the town close to Cursed Caldera. Cursed Caldera, you don't mean Ellis? I highly doubt is Ava, he chuckles. Or Luyan, he finishes with Aiden and goes back to the bed. That. I didn't see that one coming. Were you rooting for someone, he asks, puzzled. No, not at all. I just didn't see it. That's all, she explains. But if she really makes him happy, I won't get in the way. Neither will I, he looks down at the wide-awake baby on his arms. Come on, be a good boy and sleep like your sister so Mum can rest too. Rayla rolls her eyes at her overprotective husband. I'm fine, Callum. We elves are made from some sturdy material. I know, but it would make me feel better if you took it easy for a few days. At least until we have word from Farah. An elven opinion. Please. For me. As if I can say no to your puppy eyes, she sighs dramatically. Fine, just for a few days. Thank you. He kisses her and lingers, not wanting to ever stop. I love you, Rayla. So much. I love you too, Callum. She smiles, blushing. And watching her family, she wishes that Anya and Ezran will be able to love as freely as them. End. Chapter 1, Duran. Chapter text. Chapter 1, Duran. Duran Castle comes into view in the early morning light, and Ezran needs all his self-control not to spur his horse into a run. After receiving Callum's message, and then Anya's a few minutes later, he halted everything immediately and made departure preparations at once. He left Opalai in charge as he got on his way to Duran with General Amaya, Corfus, Farah. Callum asked for her specifically, and other 6 crown guards, all of whom wore a broken link insignia next to the Katolan kingdom crest. We are almost there, Your Majesty, says Corfus, riding to his left. How are you feeling? Like I'm about to explode, answers the young king. Twins, Corfus, can you believe it? Not 1 but 2 babies, he smiles widely. Callum and Rayla are such overachievers. What names do you think they choose? Asks the general to his right, signing one-handed as to not let go of the horse reins. Did Callum mention it? No, and neither did Queen Anya. Said she still didn't know. If I had to guess, Sarai and Harrow, says Corfus. I heard Prince Callum suggested a draconian name. Rayla shot that down so fast I don't even remember what name Callum suggested, Ezran says, chuckling. He looks up. What do you think, Bait? The glow toad on his head opens one eye, croaks once, and goes back to sleep. Old age has made you grumpy. The rest of the way is spent in silence on his part. He rides point in the group a few paces ahead. Enough to have his space, but not too much as not to hear the people behind him. They engage in quite an animated chatter and banter. One of the guards even jokes about Amaya helping Luxora get their heir to the throne. He gets kicked out of his horse by a deeply blushing general while everyone else laughs. Ha. He knew it was something he couldn't avoid forever. Opalai had dropped the matter for now in favor of the tower, but it wasn't a permanent arrangement. He knew she was waiting for the time to strike, with the best of intentions, of course. If his heart wasn't already set on someone already, he wouldn't really mind much. Unfortunately, he was his father's son. If King Harrow didn't give up on his mother, he wouldn't give up as well. Romantics at heart, that's what they were. He sighs deeply and focuses on the sight in front of him. The city gates were getting closer and closer, and with that his nerves grew greater and greater. He had actively been avoiding Duran. He used his tour as an explanation to ditch the last birthday ball and had come up with a wide range of other excuses over the last year and a half or so. But he had a reason, a very valid reason. A glorified excuse. Ezran, don't kid yourself, he mutters under his breath. The Katolan party rides into town. People gather around them, welcoming the group into their kingdom capital. Ezran decides to dismount and everyone else follows suit. Corfus takes his horse reins, and so he is free to interact with the townspeople. He feels more comfortable like this. He never liked the pomp and flair and the need to feel high and mighty of some monarchs. Kasef always came to the forefront of his mind. He remembered clearly how he looked so many years ago in the Katolan throne room, how he looked riding his horse, barely looking at the people around him. Ezran vowed never to be anything like him. Kasef's arrogance and need to feel powerful was his doom. Ezran shakes his head. No need to dwell on that. He focuses on the now. He is congratulated many times on his niece and nephew's birth. He shakes hands, tries and fails to accept gifts for him and his family, and buys a trinket or two that catches his eye at the marketplace. When they get to the castle gates, it's already close to noon. He hears the trumpets and drums typical of protocol for a visiting monarch's arrival while they open the doors for them. By this point Ezran is no longer nervous, not anymore. He is freaking out now. And again, there is a reason. A very valid reason. He gets closer and closer to it with every step. He can see her, waiting for them, for him he dares to think. She is there, standing tall and regal in a dress only fitting for the Queen of Duran. Her golden hair is loose and it frames her face perfectly. The crown sits comfortably on her head. Ezran stops in front of Anya at arm's length. He lifts Bate from his head and gives him to Corvus to then bow first as protocol dictates. Queen Anya, he greets her. Long time no see. King Ezran, she greets back with a curtsy. Welcome to Duran. /////. He thought not seeing her would be enough. He thought not talking to her would be enough. He thought distance would be enough. He was wrong. He still felt as strongly as during his 21st birthday ball. How could he not? Anya was just so, he forces himself to act proper. Ezran needed to get his bearings. After all, he had vowed to bury it all until he found that blasted loophole that would allow a king and a queen from different nations be together. ////. 1 year, 3 months, and 2 weeks ago. He needed some fresh air, but the balcony, his balcony, was taken by Callum and Rayla. 2 months into their marriage and they were still in what Claudia had called honeymoon stage. In short, they were gross. He needed another escape. Something that wouldn't look suspicious. Something that looked natural. Something that didn't catch anyone's attention. And then my darling Lucille, so precious, bless her soul, you know what she did. Sweet girl takes off her shoes and follows the ducklings into the pond. Something that would take him the hell away from the Lord in front of him, currently listing his eldest daughter's best qualities. The man dries an invisible tear from his eye. I'm sure my Lucille will make a fine mother and wife one day. If Ezran didn't sigh dramatically while rolling his eyes and said something rude in response, it was only because he was raised right. Yes, sir, I'm sure she will. He clears his voice to take the edge out of it. Any man would be lucky to have her. The Lord's eyes sparkle as he grins kind of wickedly, and Ezran regrets every life choice ever made that took him to this moment. Screw young, well-behaved, and mature for his age king. If that man even dared to try to set him up with his daughter, he was going to drill him anew. Your Majesty, a voice cuts in. I've been looking for you the whole evening. Both men turn. Ezran beams, the Lord frowns, and both bow to the lady. Queen Anya, Ezran greets, taking her gloved hand to kiss it. I'm glad you could make it today, Your Majesty. How could I not? It's your 21st birthday. This one is extra special, and yes, both monarchs turned to the still present Lord, who had cleared his voice, loudly, to make himself heard. I believe we weren't introduced, he says with an over-the-top bow. I'm Lord Linus of Catullus. My lands are just outside the east gates of the city. Strawberry fields. The castle uses our harvest to make the jam for the chef's famous tarts. My older son takes care of the land administration. A bright and strong young man, my Lindro, but still single. Waiting for the right lady, he says. Maybe Her Majesty, Your Majesties. Lord Linus looks around and notices he was left talking with himself. Well, that's rude. ///. Did that man just try to set me up with his son? Yes, he did. As he also tried to set me up with his daughter. Ezran pulls her a little closer as they dance. The nerve, they look at each other and laugh. Will you do something about him? Nah, he is harmless. A bit of a social climber, but not so bad deep down, just exasperating. Anya chuckles at his overdramatic sigh. But his lordship is, in fact, one of the oldest in the kingdom, and they do provide the finest strawberries on this side of the border. Anya gives him a lopsided smile. Saved by jelly tarts. Really? Everyone has a weakness, he shrugs and makes her spin. You did look ready to kill him, though, she says, changing the dance pattern and taking the lead. That's one reason I interrupted. Nor kill, just break his nose and claim it was an accident. My fist collided with his face, he clarifies. Thanks, though now he spins. So, what's the other reason? I need to breath, she whispers, getting closer still to him. I'm starting to get anxious around here with all these people, but your brother and sister-in-law are hoarding the balcony and the garden access is also through there. I'm not exposing myself to whatever is happening out there just for a walk in the gardens. Well, it's not like someone is making you stay the whole night. Unlike me, you can make your excuses and leave for the night. And be the talk of the castle tomorrow. No thanks. You know no one can really leave before the host, and that you, said host, can't end this before midnight. Both of them sigh. Stupid unwritten social rules, they spin again. So, what's on your mind, my dear queen? Secret passage, she answers. You showed it to me once, but can't go alone. Ezran smiles. Lies, he says. It's the easiest access in the castle, if you know where to look, of course. I know you know its exact location, and the door latch can easily be operated single-handed. You definitely don't need me. Anya raises an unamused eyebrow. Ezran, sense the tone, she deadpans. I'm asking you to come with me. Ezran trips but covers nicely and falls into the next step of the dance. Anya, we can't just disappear together, he whispers back, making sure no one is listening. He sees that no one is even looking their way. Still, he says, if someone notices our absence, the gossip would be merciless. I can hear it already, that Queen Anya gave me a very special gift last night. You make it sound so bad. She raises a hand to avoid Ezran from interrupting. As if someone would notice. At this point of the night people are too drunk, hooking up, or too entertained to care. She stops their dance at one of the corners of the dance floor and lets him go. She starts walking and Ezran has no other choice than to follow. They were a few feet away from the tapestry that hid the secret entrance into the castle walls. Anya stops next to it and turns to look at him. Also, she adds softly, I wanted to spend some time alone with my best friend on his birthday without having to watch my words or look over my shoulder. Ezran smiles at her tenderly and then scratches the back of his head. He sighs over dramatically and walks closer to her. As if I can ever say no to you. He makes sure no one is looking their way and reaches behind the tapestry to find the loose panel on the wall. He waits a few seconds until the orchestra hits a crescendo in the music and pulls. The noise of the mechanism gets drowned by the music as the hidden door opens. He winks at Anya and disappears. The queen counts to 10 and follows, the door closing behind her like nothing had happened. No one sees them vanish. // Freedom. Finally breathing space. I've always liked the view from up here, says Anya, grabbing onto the parapet and leaning a bit to the edge. I agree, but could you please not do that? I don't think you want to find out exactly how hard the ground down there is. Okay, mother, she says, rolling her eyes and taking a step back into safety while still looking into the distance. You can see all the lights. It looks like the town is sparkling. Ezran smiles, finishes closing the hidden door, and joins her on the parapet. Callum has several paintings of the city from this view at different times of the day and seasons, he says. I'll tell him to show them to you and maybe you can convince him to let you take one home. I'll claim early birthday present, she says, turning to look at Ezran. 3 months early, she laughs. Your 23rd birthday, he says, like saying a proclamation. Are you planning something big again? Her jolly laughter dies and turns into a half smile. He notices it no longer reaches her eyes. What's wrong? Ezran puts a hand on her shoulder and she covers it with her own in return. She looks directly into his eyes. It will be a big celebration, as it always is, she says. A festival day for the people and a fancy dance party for the high ends of society. Open gates so the children can come and play in the gardens. I'll join them and they'll win little prizes and trinkets. Then the gates will close at 6 and it will time to start preparing for the ball. Lords, ladies, counts, barons, society upstarts, generals, kings and queens, and whoever is someone out there will be present in their finest regalia. I'll make my entrance and everyone will sing me praise. I'll blow the candles of the most gorgeous cake I've ever seen so far, prettier than the previous year, and then I'll speak. Thank everyone for coming. The orchestra will see my signal and will start playing a slow piece. A previously chosen gentleman will then escort me to the dance floor and then one by one the couples will start joining us and the party will officially begin and will continue until the early hours. Anya finishes her rant and moves to sit on one of the guards' chairs. Anya, really, what's wrong? Ezran takes the second chair and sits close to her. He takes both her hands in his, he felt how they were slightly shaking. I know all that, I'm the one who goes into town with you, the one who joins your team during the games, the one who dances that first song with you. Why the need to tell me all that? Because she says, head down. There's going to be a change this year. One that I tried to avoid, but my counsel had too many good arguments. Ezran can hear the shakiness in her voice. What change, he asks. Do I want to know? You will know soon enough anyways, she answers. The story is already out there, circulating. My counsel made sure the correct people knew it so the news could spread as fast and as discreetly as possible and only in the correct circles. Our earlier interaction with Lord Linus was the proof I needed. Ezran takes 2 seconds to connect the dots. His eyes go wide. Suitors. Anya nods with a deep tired sigh. They are starting to look into candidates for the Duran throne. All indicates it will be to the most convenient suitor, though I still don't know who that will be. But it's your choice. Ezran was starting to get angry. It's your life. Anya finally looks up. She had a neutral mask over her face, like if the situation was of no real consequence to her. Like if it didn't matter at all. If anything, it only makes the anger growing inside Ezran to double. I'll have a say in it, yes, the most convenient and less gross man or woman from the top 10, she declares with a dark humor. Maybe I'll be lucky enough to at least like them. Not like it matters. It really doesn't. I was a fool to think I could have what my mother's had. No matter what I think, say, or do. Because, if I'm honest, I wouldn't really care about the situation if it wasn't for the fact that I can't be with the one I really want to be with. Ezran freezes. Did she just admit into wanting someone? Damn it. That changed everything, didn't it? He couldn't let Anya marry for convenience. Not when she. He couldn't think about that word. Not when it was obviously not for him. He takes a deep breath. Screw his happiness. Anya had a shot at happiness and he would help her get it. Yes you can. Ezran raises his voice and stands up. Yes you will. I'll make sure of it. You, Anya, Queen of Duran, will marry out of love, she frowns. Bold declarations, Ezran, King of Katolis, she mocks. And how the fuck do you plan to achieve that, exactly? Say you will marry me. A long silence. Color starts to come back to Anya's face. What? Ezran deflates and sits back down. I'll be your smokescreen, he declares, and feels his heart breaking a little. With me by your side no one will even try to get close. Something like what Claudia and I did for Callum and Rayla. As people think we are together we can make time to think how you can be with the one you really want to be. And you would happily do that for me, she asks, voice a bit shaky and a tad hurt. Of course. Nothing would bring me more joy than to see you happy. Then why do you look like someone had taken your heart out of your chest? Ezran is not quick enough to answer. I never thought you would be cruel with someone, Ez. Cruel. With both of us. Saying that. Making me believe, even for a second that I, if only. Wait, you don't mean to say, me? Now she is the one who is not quick to answer. Gods, Anya. Look, Ez. Let's just leave it like that. We both can't be seriously talking about this. But I'm serious. Now I am. He stands up again. Forget all I've said the last couple minutes. That is not what I really feel. Gods, this is so not how I planned to do this. He kneels in front of her and is relieved when she lets him take her hands. I'll be direct, I love you. She takes a quick breath in. He smiles tenderly, looking up at her as if she was the only one that ever mattered. I planned a walk in the gardens at sundown, your favorite time of the day. The bushes would have been full of flowers of all your favorite colors. I planned to cut one and put it behind your ear while telling you how beautiful you are. I planned to cup your face with my hands and bring our foreheads together, and then, being so close, I would whisper those 3 words, loud enough so only you could hear them. I love you. Then, if I was lucky enough for you not to push me away, I planned to kiss you. Ezran. Her voice fails, some tears fall. I'm in love with you, he continues when Anya doesn't say anything else. And I'll do everything in my power to make you happy, if you'll have me. Anya stands up, pulling him to his feet. He was taller now, so she had to look up. She smiles at him and, even with the tears, her eyes smile as well. "You are an idiot," she says before kissing him. Anya starts pulling away after a few seconds into the kiss, but Ezran doesn't let her. He lets go of her hands and moves his one to the back of her neck and the other to her hips, keeping her close. Her hands move to his chest and then up to the back of his neck. It's a long, slow, deep kiss. When the kiss ends, they are both out of breath. Anya untangles her hands from Ezran's hair and again moves them to lay over his chest. She can feel his heartbeat, fast and strong. "You idiot," she repeats softly. He laughs. "You had to say it. I've loved you since I was 16, Anya. It was due time I said it." He hugs her close. "And now that I know you feel the same," she pushes Ezran away, breaking his embrace. "Wait, hold it," she says. "I haven't said anything of the sort." "Yeah, right. And that kiss just now was out of pity." She blushes. "Don't go and deny it now." "I won't deny it," she says. Ezran moves to hug her again, but she stops him. "I also won't confirm it." Ezran looks at her confused. "I don't understand," he says. "I'm getting mixed signals here." Anya takes a deep breath to calm herself. "Come, sit with me." She guides him back to the chairs. "Tell me, who are you? What do you mean?" "I'm Ezran." "And your title?" "King of Katolis." Anya nods and continues. "Who am I?" "Queen Anya of Duran," he answers quickly, knowing now what she wanted to hear. "Exactly," she says. "I'm queen, you are king. See the problem?" "I'm not so sure." "Let's put it this way," she continues. "Lords have lands and people they are responsible of. They see and prioritize their land's interests. Marriages between these kinds of families are common, be it that they use this to expand their influence, power, close a commercial deal, or whatever reason. But what happens there? Well, normally the family with less influence sends their daughter or son to live in the new lands. Now, this bride or groom becomes an active part of the management of their new home. Forgotten are their family's lands. Now the only concern is this new place. New people. New fealties. New responsibilities. You see where I'm going with this?" "Sadly, I think I do," he says with a sigh. "We are king and queen. We have land and people depending on us. If we were to marry, one of us would need to leave their kingdom to go help rule the other, and I won't leave Duran." She makes a pause. "Truth is, I can't leave Duran. I have no heir. If I were to abdicate, the next in line to the throne is this distant cousin who actually lives in Delbar because his side of the family ran from Duran some decades ago to be far away from the Zadian war. If I left, it would be chaos and anarchy in Duran." She lets this sink in. "Then I'll go to Duran," he declares. "After gathering the new council and getting everything in order, I'll make the declaration and force a crown they never wanted on Callum and Rayla." She takes one of his hands and squeezes. "You say that now in the heat of the moment, but I know later you will think about it and you won't do it." Ezran closes his eyes tight. "No," he finally agrees. "I wouldn't do that to them. I made him my heir so he could have enough political power as ambassador and to solidify his stance at court. Not for my selfish wishes." He looks down, feeling defeated. "I guessing a merger is also out of the question." "You would be right. Just thinking about the logistics and political tension makes me want to throw up. But it could work." "I wish to say yes," she answers. "But the other 3 monarchs in our alliance will go against it. It could mean war. And going to war for something like this only works in fairy tales." She sighs. "No, out of the question. This why you said it, right? All these is why you said you can't be with the one you want, why you and me can't happen." "Yes," she says simply. "No, there must be a way," he insists. "A loophole, something. If there is, I never found it. And believe me, I looked." Ezran smiles at her with sadness in his eyes. "Since when have you been looking?" She returns his sad smile. "Since I turned 19." Anya stands up, leaving Ezran with his realization. "This is unfair," he complains. "Life normally is," she says. "We have been gone from the party for long, don't you think? It's time we return. If Corvus is not here looking for us, then it's fine." He also stands up and hides his hands in his pockets. "So, what now?" "Well, We try to go as if nothing happened, she says. Of course, now that I know how you feel, I think I'm going to fight my counsel about the suitors issue. The reason I didn't at first was because I honestly thought my feeling went unrequited. That means they are going to face a little bit of hell. Ezran laughs. You do that, I'll look on my side. Maybe Duran law is against it, but Catullus law may have something we can use. I hope you are right, she caresses his face. I'll be going back to Duran as originally planned in 2 days' time, and I expect the next time I see you to be during my birthday, but I won't blame you if you decide you don't want to go. I won't miss it for the world, he says. Anya frowns at his tone. He was planning something already, she knew him too well. Ezran, whatever you are planning, I ask you not to do it, she says seriously. Planning? Who says I'm planning? He stops when she frowns and crosses her arms. Okay, fine. I won't do anything. Hey, Ez, look at me, he does. I want you to promise me something. Don't ignore the chance to be happy just for me, because I won't. If I meet someone who I know is worth it and who can make me happy, I will take that leap. Please don't stop living because of me. I care too much for you. You won't say those words, won't you? Not if they have no future. She takes his face between her hands to look directly into his eyes. I promise you this in return to you, Ezran, I won't say those words to anyone unless I truly mean them. For the time being, they belong to you. I'll pray the time comes when I can freely say them, but I won't hold my breath. She moves to hug him. You are still my best friend, Ez, I don't want to lose that. Ezran hugs her back. You won't lose me, ever, I promise. / Present time. The memories hit Ezran like a horse kick to the chest. They stayed in contact, of course, but apart from that first birthday ball, Ezran limited their interaction to letters. He had to admit that he wasn't the best of friends by doing that, but as stated before, he thought distance would help. It clearly did not. Ezran schooled his facial expression before standing back up after his bow. Okay, protocol over, don't I get a hug? I haven't seen my best friend in over a year, I think I deserve it. Anya opens her arms as invitation. Who am I to say no to the Queen's request, he replies with a smile and walks the small distance between them to hug her tight. I've missed you, Anya. Me too, she replies and breaks the hug. But I think we can catch up late, don't you think? After all, you have 2 very good reasons not to linger here. Ezran's excitement comes back. Yes. Babies. All Catullus is forever grateful with Duran about this. After the proclamation about the birth, people flooded the castle gates bearing gifts. At least half were for Duran. I was wondering what that cart you are hauling was, they laugh. So, where are my brother and Rayla? I'm surprised not to see them down here. They are in the Catulan wing of the castle. It's feeding time and babies don't wait. Anya turns around and calls 2 people to come closer. This are Simra and Kane. They are in charge of the guest wing service and security. Simra will show you to your quarters now while Kane sees about accommodating your men. Pleasure to serve you, King Ezran, say both of them, bowing and curtsying respectively. He makes a little head movement to acknowledge them. Just when Anya is going to continue, another man, this one older and wearing elegant robes, calls the Queen. Yes, Setith. My Queen, I'm sorry to interrupt, but they are all here already. I sent them to wait in the library. Anya's expression turns serious. Of course they are early, she says, full Queen mode on. Get everything ready, I'll be there in 10 minutes. The man bows and leaves quickly. Duty calls. When does it not, she says, relaxing her features when facing him. But of course, who better to get this than yourself, right? She gives him another quick hug. Well, talk later, okay, he nods. She turns to the other 2 people. You have your instructions. I trust there won't be any problems. There won't be, Your Majesty, both answer, with proud expressions on their faces. She smiles at them. Thank you. As she turns to leave, Ezran calls to her one more time. Will we see you at dinner? Perhaps, she calls back, not stopping, and disappearing inside. / Sorry, I and Aiden were everything Ezran could have wished for. They were the perfect babies. Now, if only Aunt Amaya could stop hoarding them and let him hold them would be great. As their godfather and your king, I demand to hold the babies. Amaya grins and signs slowly and with difficulty as her arms were full of baby. Sorry, can't hear you. Callum laughs so hard at that he almost falls from his chair. Still, he goes to his brother's rescue. Come on, Amaya, there's 2 of them. I'm sure you can spare one. Fine, she answers, rolling her eyes. She gives Aiden to her nephew. Ezran holds the baby boy and needs all his will not to melt on the spot when Aiden grabs his finger. They really take after Rayla, he says. You'll have your hands full with 2 little elf assassins running around. Just me. As if you won't take any chance you get to be with them like Dad did with you. No, he will be too busy, says the general from the rocking chair. I'll babysit, she grins. Ezran wanted to answer back, but that meant holding Aiden with just one arm and he is not prepared to do that. Rain, check on that conversation, he says clear enough so she can read his lips and go sit in the second rocking chair. After Rayla joins them some time later, Farah says I'm in perfect condition, so you can stop fuzzing now. They go to their private parlor to eat. Anya doesn't join them. Her chamberlain informs them that her meeting was dragging longer than expected. It's an issue about trading and hunting regulations near the Zadian border, explains Callum. We went as neutral party tone of those meetings in Zadia half a year ago. Over half a year ago, corrects Rayla. It was that meeting at Silver Grove, before we found out I was pregnant, Callum nods. I ended up suggesting change in leadership to all present. Their demands were ridiculous and only benefit them while hanging on many loose ends, loopholes, and free interpretation of many regulations, both Zadian and human. Long story short, they don't like me, he finishes. So, what about that change in leadership, asks Ezran. Last thing we heard, half the committee had followed that advice, explains Rayla. I really hope it's true. I don't wish Anya the bad luck of trying to reason with men who only see as far as their bags of coin can take them. The answer to that comes 2 hours later when the Queen bursts into the Katolan quarters, runs to Ezran and Callum, grabs their arms in a vice grip, and basically spirits them away. I need your help, she says while dragging them down the hallways. I just created an excuse to be able to go get you both while Setith entertains the snakes that slithered their way into my home. That bad? Ez, you have no idea. She turns to look at Callum over her shoulder. You are going to love this, he frowns. I can sense your sarcasm. No shit, her voice is strained. She stops in front the library double doors and finally lets the brothers go and faces them. They take a little step back. Can't blame them. If looks could kill, Anya would have murdered them at least 10 times over. Remember you told me you suggested a change in leadership? Callum nods. Well, it happened, but at the same time it didn't. What do you mean? That even if the group has new town leaders, the old ones stayed in power as the trusty councillors, so, guess who is inside driving the carriage from the back seat? Callum pinches the bridge of his nose. Please tell me is not the same old geezers I saw in Silver Grove. If I could I would, but I can't, so I shan't. Callum bites into his scarf to suppress a scream. Well, fuck, says Ezran, closing his eyes and also taking a deep breath. When he opens his eyes again he is in full king mode. We will help you deal with them. They can't get their way here, things could quickly escalate to the worst. Katolis border would be their next target, she says. No way in hell, he turns to his brother. Callum, how do you want to do this? You know them better. Do they know we are here? Callum asks. They have no idea, Anya grins. They seem to think you and Rayla went home already. Perfect, he grins back. It will be tricky. Those snakes are fast learners, but they have a vital weak point. This is the plan. /////. 3 hours later. Only missing your signature, Lord Tate, says Setith, holding the ledger with a document draft. This is unacceptable, says the Lord, but signs anyways. You haven't heard the last of us. Oh no, I believe we have. Anya takes the ledger from Setith and closes it in the Lord's face, giving more strength to her statement. The document you just signed compels you to it. You bullied us into this, says another Lord. They shouldn't even be here, he adds, pointing at Callum and Ezran. Please, Pot calling kettle black, says Ezran, pouring himself a healthy amount of cider and drinking. Power play. He had grabbed the bottle from the Queen's private cabinet. First, you all should also not be here, or at least not without the leaders of each of your towns. You are not in charge anymore. You don't have the power to take decisions like the ones that this meeting discussed. And second, you all ganged up on 2 monarchs and prince. By all means we could declare this a conspiracy and coup attempt. We could have you all thrown into the dungeons. He takes another drink while his words sink in. But we didn't. A coup. Lord Tate pales, as do most of the other lords present. Your Majesties, your Highness, we would never. But you would, says Callum, emphasizing his statement, punching the nearest bookshelf. Sparks flew and books fell. I'm tired of saying the same thing over and over and over again. As I said many times during that disastrous first meeting, your demands are ridiculous and dangerous. It would be a grotesque invasion of Zadian territory, putting their natural balance and economy at risk, and you want to do it with a royal permit. That, of course, would show the human kingdoms give a fuck about another land's autonomy. That would be ground enough for a new war. The fault would fall on the offending monarchy, and the lords you all would rise with and for power. Tell me, how is that not conspiracy and a coup play? No one answers. Bullseye. Leave, says Anya, her tone dangerous. Setith, if you would do me the favor of escorting these so-called gentlemen out of my sight and out of my kingdom. Call the guards and make sure every single one is gone before dinner. She watches the horrified faces. You can use force if needed, and talking directly to them, she adds. If I ever see your faces again in my kingdom, you'll regret every decision you ever made in your lives. When the door finally closes behind the last lord and the footsteps in the hallway fade, the 3 royals inside the library release a collective sigh of relief. Anya takes 2 steps back and collapses into her chair. Ezran puts his back to the wall and slides to the floor, and Callum grabs onto the bookshelf to remain standing. Remind me no to do that ever again, says Anya with a tired voice. Next time I'll just send some of my friends their way and that's it, he says, massaging his temples. What friends, Ez? You know the ones. Sharp teeth, big claws, he hears chuckles. No one would suspect. Maybe Callum kinda agrees. But talking about suspicions, I should get back to Rayla. She must be wondering why the Queen kidnapped us both, and it's close to feeding time again. Got to go fulfill fatherly duties. He stands tall, fixes his clothes, and walks to the door. See you both at dinner, and with that he leaves. Ezran stands up a few heartbeats later and sits on the love seat in front of the chimney. It was a warm season in Duran, so the fire wasn't lit. I owe you a bottle of cider, he says to break the thin ice that had started to form. Anya looks at him, judging. You had to go for my favorite brew, didn't you? Saw my chance, he says, unapologetic. I'll ask Claudia to ask her mother in Delbar to send a crate. Wait, you are telling me that you won't even look into your royal cellar? No need to look, because I know I won't find it, he explains. Only Zadian berry brews back in Catolis Castle. Damn, you are spoiled, she laughs. I prefer to call it good elf-human relations. He turns to face her. During my last birthday, all elven guests brought crates as a gift. Is that a complaint? Oh no. Far from it. There's still 2 cold brews I need to taste. They laugh and fall into a comfortable silence. I'm still looking, so you know, he says a few minutes later. Any luck? None so far, but I confess I stopped for a while after learning of Lady Evelyn Briar of Duran. Yeah, about that. You don't need to say or explain anything, he interrupts good-naturedly. You did tell me you would seize your chance. You were fine with it, she asks, incredulity in her voice. Fine. Far from it. But it was your decision, and all I could do was respect it. Ezran sighs. And I've met her. You have? When? At one of your birthdays some years ago, he explains. I couldn't even be mad at your choice when I found out. I like her. Fine lady. If anyone, I'm happy it was her. Anya rolls her eyes at him. So much drama. You can stop now, you very well know we broke up. I do. Won't say I'm sorry for you. Cause I'm not. He dodges a book. Wow, so much violence, he laughs. You done? She stretches and stands to then sit beside Ezran in front of the chimney. To be honest, I still don't see how this, she points back and forth between them, could work. No matter how much I would like it to. I'm working on it, he answers, facing her. I'll let you know as soon as I find out. You have time, she adds. After Evelyn, my counsel hasn't insisted on the topic. They think I'm heartbroken. You mean you are not? Not for her, she says, looking directly at him with a sad smile. Ezran takes one of her hands and holds tight. They fall into a comfortable silence again. This time Anya is the one who breaks it. I never said the words to her, she says, loud enough for Ezran to hear. I told myself I was waiting for the right moment, but I was just fooling myself. I hurt her, Ez. She deserved better than someone who couldn't fall in love with her. She leans into him. Tell me the truth, am I hurting you as well? The same way I'm most likely hurting you, he answers. She groans. We are two big idiots, aren't we? Yes, we are. That's why I'm going to ask this. Out of idiocy, Ezran takes her chin gently and to make her look at him. The look on his face is tender. Can I assume those 3 words are still mine? Yes, you can, she answers. But I'm still not saying them. It's up to you, no. My hands are tied on this and you know it. Ezran avoids Anya's eyes and lets her go. He stands up and fixes the mess of books Callum's punch made. I'm starting to think mine might be tied as well, he confesses. I'm running out of options, he looks at her. I'm thinking, he hesitates. What is it? I'm thinking about asking Callum for help. Are you gonna ask him to take the throne, she asks seriously. I don't know, he answers. If I explain everything to him, he will come to the conclusion himself. I don't want to ask this of him, but it may come to be the only solution. And at the same time I know Callum doesn't want this. Rayla doesn't want this. But I also know that they would do it for me. And maybe they would resent it later and... Shit. I don't know. You are confused, she says softly. Heck yes, I'm confused, he says, going back to sit next to her, hunched forward, head on his hands. There is only one thing keeping me sane, and it may sound cheesy as fuck and like an overused line, but it's you. You are keeping me sane. And that's because the only thing clear and true in all this mess is that I'm still madly in love with you. Anya moves to hug him, her head cradled under his chin. He hugs her back. Anya, can I kiss you? The answer comes in the form of Anya giving that kiss. He kisses back immediately. They were so focused on each other that they missed the knocking on the door. // Corvus knocks twice before letting himself in. The library was well illuminated by the bright orange sunset, so he couldn't have been able to not see what he saw. Yorma, he loses his voice due to the surprise. There, on the love seat in front of the chimney, working Ezran and Queen Anya in a lip lock. His surprised state lasts only for a few seconds. He closes the door, loud. He hears startled voices inside the room and knows the young king and queen are no longer in a compromising position. He schools his face, counts to 10, and knocks again. Twice. Only when he hears the queen's voice allowing him entrance does he open the door. Your Majesties, he bows. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm to retrieve you both for dinner. He stands straight. Everyone is waiting at the inner rose garden. Thanks, Corvus. We'll go with you now. Anya takes the lead with Ezran walking beside her. Corvus falls behind 3 steps as is his usual spot, covering his king's back. With the information he now possessed, he notices things he had ignored before. The easygoing smiles. The spark in their eyes. The short distance between them bordering on improper for 2 people not even courting. The way their hands would sometimes casually touch. How Ezran seemed to forget about the world around him, his entire focus on Anya. How Anya seemed to forget about the world around her, her entire focus on Ezran. And he now realizes, all that had been going on for years. What he saw was no sudden impulse. What he saw was no recent development. What he saw was not just a moment of lust. They are in love, he reasons. A king and queen from different kingdoms are in love. But can't be together in public. He doesn't knows that much about politics, but his wife does. He needed to talk with Opalai first thing upon their return. He wanted his king happy, and if Queen Anya makes him happy he was willing to do whatever in his power. His job was first and foremost to protect his king. And that, of course, included his heart. Chapter 2 Katolis. Everything in Katolis was perfect and Ezran couldn't be happier. His family in full was in the castle after what felt like an eternity. His niece and nephew, at 3 months of age, were the cutest jelly tarts. Sorry, I was the jelly, Aiden was the tart. His brother and Rayla had decided to stay put until the baby's 2nd year, age when it would be easier for them to go back to the road. Opalai and Corvus were always with him during official kingly business. The only help he felt he needed if he was honest. Opalai was his trusted faithful advisor and Corvus was his shadow, though the official job description was personal guard. In reality, he considered them both like part of the family. Talking about Corvus, he had been acting weird since they got back from Duran. He asked, of course, but every time he would answer with "Don't worry, Your Majesty. It's nothing." Yeah, like hell it was. Anyways, Corvus would tell him when he felt ready. Of that Ezran was sure. The king walks to the window, Bait held firmly in his arms, and looks at the 2 groups training in the barracks. Aunt Amaya was making her soldiers run in full battle armor. They would roll, jump, or attack according to how many times the general would hit her shield with her sword. Amaya had returned not long ago from her last visit to Luxora, and she brought gifts, 2 flawlessly forged sun blades. Janai chose them herself from the royal armory, explains the general, while her nephews and Rayla admire the blades. This blade looks familiar, says Rayla. Callum, look at this, his eyes go wide. It can't be, he says. Aunt Amaya. Did the Queen told you something about this? Glad you asked, she signs. That is Aiden's blade. He had no family, so Janai thought appropriate that your son inherited not only his name but his blade. Both parents' eyes fill with tears. Yeah, fell's appropriate, agrees Rayla. Callum nods solemnly. Though sorry, I will get jealous when she learns her brother has such a special blade, she jokes. Even when she learns her blade belonged to late Queen Kassa. Their surprised exclamation could be heard in the whole castle. A different noise catches Ezran's attention. He opens his window to be able to look more to the right. He chuckles at the scene. Soren was training the new guard recruits. They were all boys and girls on the young side, 16 or 17-year-olds, and they were all spread around the floor trying to catch their breaths after Soren kicked their collective asses. He was saying something to them. Ezran couldn't hear him, of course, but he could bet it was something on the lines of, if you can't even beat me, who can't stand without a cane, do you really think you can protect the people? You really think you can protect the crown? Not in my watch. He was cool, Ezran had to admit it, or he would be if Claudia hadn't appeared right then and there to start fuzzing about him. He could see his pout as Claudia dragged him to sit on a bench while scolding him. He was sure that the recruits would have laughed if they weren't so tired. Ezran keeps on watching the siblings' interaction, his focus now on Claudia. When everything was said and done after the war, she had sworn black magic off her life. But even so, she had never given up about finding a cure for Soren. She ended up spending so much time in the library that Ezran offered her to be in charge of its administration. Not many people come in here, and I've realized that the book compendium and cataloging is way outdated. Interested in the job? It would give you access to all the information available without asking for my permission to access books under lock and key. She accepted without a second thought, and Ezran had to admit that he hadn't seen her as happy in a long time. This could be Katolis' golden age, Bait, he says. Having so many good people working with me, human-elf relations improving day by day, and the tour starting next week. Nothing can ruin this, Bait. Yes, everything in Katolis was perfect and Ezran couldn't be happier. Except, he could. ////. 2 months ago. Duran. Everything was packed and ready for their departure. They had spent 2 weeks in Duran waiting for the babies to be 1 month old, age both Farah and Zayla deemed appropriate for the to travel. I can't believe you didn't bring a carriage, says Anya, looking at one of her drivers hooking up the horses. Babies, even if Raylas, can't travel on horseback. Yes, I know. I know. Rayla already chewed me up and spit me out about the fact. She even said I'm under probation about being their godfather. He side-eyes the woman standing at his side. You are obviously the favorite here. Of course I am, she says with a cheeky grin. She then moves closer to him and makes a show about whispering in his ear with a sultry voice. Good thing you know who my favorite is, right? She steps back and winks. Ezran is glad his darker complexion hides the blush he knows is creeping up his neck and his face. Because her comment and tone just made him think about their time together during this whole visit. Walks in the garden, meals with his family, a couple political discussions, leisure time with the twins, and then the time not spent in public. Kisses were shared in dark corners, behind half-closed doors, at the shade of a hidden tree in the gardens, inside empty rooms with comfortable beds, but even if hands and lips freely wandered, and clothes were sometimes shed, they never crossed that final line. Though they were close too many times. Ezran told her time and time again that he loved her, that he would find the way, and that he understood if she couldn't wait. That it would hurt, but he would survive if he saw her happy. After all, he knew they were running on borrowed time. Anya, on the other hand, never said those words back. Ezran no longer minded. Maybe she wasn't saying them, but her actions spoke more than words would ever do. He knew those three little yet big words were his. Louise, she calls her driver. Be careful there. Apologies, Your Majesty, he calls back. This piece was just polished and it slipped my fingers. Still, be careful. We want you back in one piece. He smiles gratefully and goes back to work. Anya motions Ezran to follow her. Louise is my best driver, she says. He has served my family for many years. You are in good hands. I appreciate that. And of course, we will welcome him at the castle until he is ready to come back. For that, I would like to send 2 guards of my own. For his protection on the way back. Of course Ezran agrees. I think we can accommodate them. Rayla and Callum will surely appreciate the extra security. They turn into a dark corner and stop. Anya takes his hand and pulls him closer to the wall and behind a tall bush where it was darker. Less chances to be seen. So, are you going to miss me, she says, putting her hands on his chest and slowly moving her arms around his neck. He returns the embrace by circling her with his arms and hugging her close. Miss you? Anya, not a day has gone by without me missing you. Her hands start playing with his hair. Promise me you will write. But not those I've gotten this last year, only about official business and treaties. I want something only you could say to me. She brings his head down, foreheads touching. And you will write back. I may start writing something now so you have something to read when you get home. Ezran chuckles. And I'm the dog. She leans in until her lips are grazing his. Yes, Ezran, she whispers. You are still the dog. They kiss softly, moving slowly against each other. They knew their time was limited and they intended to get the best of it. Ezran, someone calls, making them cut their kiss short. Ez. We are ready to go. It's Callum, he whispers. I have to go. I know, she says. We both do. They separate, still hidden. Anya cleans the lipstick from his lips. He catches her hand and kisses her palm. I love you, he says one last time. I know, she answers. 20 minutes later he is inside the carriage holding a sleeping Sarai. Rayla is front of him in holding Aiden, who refuses to sleep, and Callum next to her is closing the door. Ezran looks out the window, his eyes finding Anya. Thanks for everything. Safe travels, she says, waving goodbye as the carriage starts to move at General Amaya's order to move. Still looking out the window until he can see her no more, Ezran feels like he is leaving his heart behind. / Katolis present time. Ezran enters his private study and locks the door. Callum would say it's an unnecessary precaution as no one, not even him, is allowed in there without Ezran's direct authorization and always in his presence. But he still locks because one never knows. He deposits bait over his pillow nest on the windowsill and goes sit at his desk. He glances at his friend and sighs. He was getting old. He didn't glow as he used to, and when he did the colors weren't as bright. He wondered how much longer he would have him around and if it would be long enough for him to see him married to Anya, or to just see him married in any case. He lets Bate sleep in peace and turns to check his mail. He puts down all his messages and starts with all high priority ones waiting for him. Only 2 this time. The first one comes from Evnir. Apparently they were having problems with bandits on the roads, humans, and wanted travelers to take precautions. He writes a reply, not urgent, and a message for Opali so she can send for a public announcement. The second urgent message came from Neolangia. The new prince, third in line for the throne, was born a week ago and Prince Kasef. Really, he massages his temples. Well, let's hope he doesn't make the same mistakes he keeps on reading and doesn't like what is written in the piece of parchment. He has the urge to rip the paper to pieces, but thinks better about it. I'll let Callum and Rayla handle this one. After all, a betrothal proposition between new Prince Kasef and Princess Sarai should be handled by their parents. Deep down he feels sorry for the poor bastard who suggested the idea. That done, he moves to the pile that really interests him. The messages from Duran. These ones are marked private and Crowmaster makes sure no one can see who they are from. But Ez knows. Anya. They have been doing this for the last 2 months. Love letters, back and forth, though Anya never writes those 3 words. He opens the new message, eager to read, and notices something is not right. The message is short, for starters, penmanship is a bit messy and there are what he can only recognize as tear stains. When he reads his breath catches, but not in a good way. Evelyn is back. Council pressure. Don't know how long I can fool them. Time in running out. Please hurry. Anya. Fuck is the only thing he can think to say. He throws the message into the chimney and starts the fire. Ezran sits on the floor, watching the paper burn, trying to come up with something. With anything. Nothing. He sighs, defeated, realizing he'll have to use his last resort. Callum. // It's open. You really need to ask who is it, before inviting anyone in, Callum says, Ezran closing and locking Callum's workshop door. Bad habits, he says, putting his paints and brush down. He turns and Ezran giggles. What? You are a rainbow, Callum, Ezran says, tone amused. He spots a clean rag and tosses it to his brother who catches it in the air. Callum moves to the mirror in the corner and frowns. How he looks at his paint-stained self. And I just got this apron back from laundry. It's the apron purpose. No one will bat an eye. Your face though, that's a different story, he chuckles again. Callum cleans up while Ezran looks around. His brother's latest work is of Rayla and the twins. It's his 6th painting of them in 2 months. I just can't seem to stop painting them, he says, standing next to his younger brother and putting the now dirty rag on the table. I already filled up 2 sketchbooks as well. I bet Rayla loves it, Ez says. No hint of sarcasm in his voice. Yes, she does. Ezran looks at his brother's lovesick happy face and sighs. Time to wipe that expression with a selfish request. Callum, we need to talk. The sudden somber tone catches the midge out of guard. Happy moment over. Ezran, what's wrong? Can we sit? It's a long story. Yeah, sure. They move to the little table Callum kept by the window. Want me to call for snacks? Jelly tarts, perhaps. Not now, but thanks. Callum leans forward and takes his brother's hand, worry all over his face. Ezran, for dragon's sake, is it that bad? I'll let you be the judge of that, he says. You'll see. It all began when. 3 hours later. The room was silent. Ezran had finished with his tale a few minutes ago and was now waiting for Callum's verdict. So I was wrong and right, it seems. Callum stands, goes to his cabinet, and takes 2 glasses and a bottle of Catalan whiskey. He takes them back to the table, pours, and sits. Wrong and right. What do you mean? Right, you are in love. Wrong, it's not Ellis. Callum drinks. It was Anya all along. Ellis? Ezran asks, confused. Why would you think it was Ellis? One day Crowlord stopped me in the hallway. First and last time I've seen the man. Anyways, Crowmaster was with him and they said, and I quote, that they had information of the utmost importance for the royal family, their words. And what was it? That they had detected a high influx of mail between the king and a peasant girl from cursed Caldera. They did what? Don't worry, took care of that, Callum assures him. But bottom line, I thought you were courting her. Ezran shakes his head and gulps down his drink. He taps the glass for another serving. Do I look like a bartender? Ezran rolls his eyes and pours both another round. No, he says. I wasn't courting Alice. I was trying to convince her into taking a title so she could join the council. Did she? Yes, he says. But we are still negotiating middle ground. Including having Luyan as her advisor. Tough one. Good choice though. She'll do great. Callum takes a sip. But Alice is not who we should be talking about now. You brought her up, not me. I did, didn't I? Callum sighs. Dragon in the room, I guess. He looks out the window. They stay silent for a few minutes. Anya. From all the women out there, you had to fall for Anya. I won't apologize for that, so don't hold your breath, Ezran says, crossing his arms and frowning. I never expected that. Callum turns to face his brother, his bright smile back on his face. Ezran, you really do love her, don't you? Yes, with everything I am. And she loves you. She hasn't said it, as I explained, but I know she does. Ezran sees Callum's smile get bigger and brighter. It was kind of blinding. Okay, then. I don't need to know anything more. It will be tricky, nearly freaking impossible. We will have to use every underhand tactic in the book and then some, but we will find the way for you guys to be together. Actually, there is a way. It was Ezran's turn to look out the window. He was avoiding his brother's eyes. Anya and I already looked everywhere. This is the only available option. So? What is it? Ezran tells him. Callum's face goes from elated to shock in seconds. Oh, well. Fuck. // She hears the knocking while putting the babies to sleep for the night. Yes, she calls. It's Ezran, I'm with Callum. Can we come in? Rayla opens the door. Do you really have to ask? You both have a key. Rayla lets them in. Callum kisses her on the lips as greeting and then moves to the room next to their bedroom to see the twins. He gives each baby a kiss on the forehead. None stir. Ezran closes and locks the main door to their rooms and moves with Rayla to the couch in front of the lit fire to wait for Callum's return. He comes out of the twins' room, leaving the door ajar. Ezran nods to him. Callum casts a silence spell over them. Rayla looks back and forth between the brothers and frowns. What is going on here? Did I miss something? Nothing of consequence, at least not yet, says Callum, finishing the spell and moving to sit with them. Rayla eyes them with suspicion. Callum smiles at her, kind of forced she notices, and takes her hands in his. Ezran stands up and starts pacing in front of them, arms crossed, face neutral. Okay, what's with this? You two are starting to freak me out. No need to freak out. Nothing official has happened yet. So something will happen. Not exactly, says Ezran, halting his pacing. We started wrong. Let Callum explain and then we can discuss. Let Callum explain. Why should I explain? This is your dilemma. As your king. Oh, shut up. Don't you as your king me. It's your story. You tell it. Rayla relaxes while the brothers continue their argument. If they were acting as kids about it, it couldn't be that bad. After half an hour, though, it got ridiculous. Both of you, shut it, they do, like scolded children. I don't care who says it, just say it. The brothers look at each other and shrug. Callum turns to fully face his wife and drops the bomb. Ezran is in love with Anya. Rayla goes from annoyed to surprised. Not what I expected to hear, if I'm honest. She turns to Ez. Does she know? Yes, he answers. We have been searching a way to be together, but he doesn't finish the idea. There was no need. It was more than obvious what he wanted to say. Rayla stays silent for a moment, thinking. When the twins were born, she says. Anya went to see them first thing in the morning. Remember, Callum? When we told her we wanted her to be their godmother. I remember, he says. I left you two alone to go send Ezran the message about the twins' birth. Exactly, she continues. After Callum left, we started talking. Of course I asked her about motherhood and things kind of escalated. She admitted to be in love, that it wasn't unrequited but that it couldn't be. I pressed her and she ended up confessing a big secret. She makes a pause to assess the room. No one speaks up, so she continues. She blurted, screamed at me, that a queen can't marry a king. That's when I knew she meant you, Ez. Ezran moves to kneel in front of her sister-in-law, grabs both her hands, and asks softly. Did she said those words? Did she said she loved me? Rayla shakes her head. No, she says. But I asked her, are you in love, and she said she was. Is